Hello, dear viewers. Support me by subscribing to my channel and share my video if you like it. And also, make sure you comment your thoughts. Now let's start the video. Mount Ember, the tallest peak on one island, used to be an active volcano, but is now dormant. After crashing at Lorelai's place, Kai and Sabrina set off to find Moltres, who's rumored to hang out on this mountain, glowing like a beacon at night. They hiked up, and Kai noticed the lush greenery at the bottom, but rocky barren land higher up. "Is this really an extinct volcano?" he asked Lorelai, who looked unsure. "It feels hotter than I remember," she replied. Sabrina was lagging behind, looking wiped out from the climb. Even though she was a powerful psychic, she wasn't used to this kind of workout. Kai offered to help, but she insisted on pushing through. "Let's just keep going," she said, shaking her head. Lorelai chimed in about a hot spring nearby, which made Sabrina reconsider. They followed Lorelai to the spring, only to find boiling water that was clearly not for bathing. "Are you sure locals come here to relax?" Kai joked, and Lorelai sighed, blaming a recent earthquake for the changes. With no chance to rest, they pressed on, navigating rocky paths until they found a cave blocked by a huge boulder. Lorelai was excited, thinking Moltres was inside. Kai was about to call for help, but Sabrina stepped up and used her psychic powers to move the boulder aside. Once inside the cave, they felt a refreshing breeze and emerged onto a ledge with a stunning view of one island. Sabrina marveled, "We're so high up," but Kai was focused on finding Moltres. They followed a narrow path and soon spotted a massive bird resting below. It was Moltres with bright yellow feathers and flaming wings. Just like the legend said, Lorelai had done her job well, and she asked Kai if he needed her help. "Nah, I got this," he said, pulling out 2 Ultra Balls. Lorelai was curious about what Pokemon he had stored in them. She teased him about taking the scenic route instead of flying, and he shot back about her not having a flying type. Suddenly, Moltres stirred, sensing them. Sabrina quickly told Lorelai she wasn't feeling well and wanted to go back down, which Lorelai reluctantly agreed to. Once they were gone, Kai unleashed Zapdos and Articuno, ready for battle. Moltres wasn't backing down, and as the legendary bird squared off, Kai jumped in with a playful taunt. "Moltres, your doom has arrived." He assigned roles. Zapdos would lead, and Articuno would support. The tension was thick as the battle began. Meanwhile, Lorelai and Sabrina made their way down, the mood heavy and quiet. Sabrina enjoyed the peace, while Lorelai simmered over being sent away after all the effort to find Moltres. Boom! Thunder exploded behind them, and Lorelai turned to see Mount Ember, cloaked in dark clouds, lightning striking the peak and shaking the ground. "That's no ordinary thunderstorm," she gasped, uneasy. "What Pokemon could cause this?" Snowflakes began to fall, chilling her palm. "Blizzard?" she whispered, stunned. This was no regular storm. It was an incredible elemental clash that only a legendary Pokemon could create. Sabrina, however, watched the storm with calm admiration. "Aren't you curious about how Kai is capturing Moltres?" Lorelai asked. "Not really," Sabrina replied flatly. "Moltres is just another Pokemon." Lorelai was taken aback. "How can you say that?" Before she could argue, another tremor shook the mountain, followed by a deafening boom. Lava erupted from the volcano, sending molten flows cascading down. "The volcano's erupted!" "Kai's in danger," Lorelai cried, panic rising. Sabrina remained calm. "He's fine. Nothing trivial will harm him." "How can you be so..." Lorelai started, but Sabrina pointed to the sky. A black speck approached, revealing a Charizard flying toward them. Kai was on its back, unharmed. Sabrina smirked. "Miss Lorelai, you should hurry down the mountain." "Wait, just me. Aren't you coming?" Lorelai asked, confused. Sabrina didn't answer and suddenly vanished. A gust of wind knocked Lorelai's glasses off, and when she recovered, she saw the Charizard speeding away with Kai and Sabrina. "Are you kidding me? You couldn't have taken me too?" she shouted, frustrated. At the One Island port, the tavern buzzed with activity. Lorelai stormed in, fuming, and slammed her hand on the table beside Kai. "Why are you back so late?" Kai greeted her cheerfully, offering a glass of iced water. Lorelai snatched it, only to spit it out. Kai had handed her his used glass. "You're messing with me," she glared. "Oops, my bad," he chuckled, handing her a fresh drink. "So, how's Mount Ember?" Lorelei huffed. I spoke with the police. The lava stopped at the base, but it could have been worse. Kai sighed in relief. Good to hear. No injuries. Enough about that, she waved. Did you catch Moltres? Shit, keep it down. He pulled out an Ultra Ball with a grin. It wasn't easy, but I did it. Lorelei's eyes widened. Inside that ball was Moltres, but she noticed a crude flame engraving. Did you carve this? It's ugly. Hey, it's just to tell them apart, Kai defended. Lorelei adjusted her glasses, turning serious. Since you've captured Moltres, I think we need to settle a score. A score? Kai blinked. Removing Moltres, causing the eruption, and leaving me behind, she counted on her fingers. You're the one who guided me to Moltres, and you made it back fine, he argued. That doesn't justify leaving me halfway. Lorelei shot back. Charizard can only carry 2 people, he shrugged. Lorelei sighed, switching topics. Fine. Since you're the Indigo League champion, how about a battle? Kai shook his head. Not yet. I want to train more after the Silver Conference. Fair enough. What's next for you? She asked. We're heading to the Orange Islands after lunch, he replied. I might go there too, but I doubt we'll cross paths again. She extended her hand. Safe travels. You're always welcome here. As Charizard flew south, Kai felt calm, reflecting on their journey. He had befriended Lorelei, defeated a Team Rocket exec, and captured Moltres. Exciting adventures awaited in the Orange Islands, known for their citrus fruits and tropical charm. When Charizard landed on a bustling island, Kai helped Sabrina dismount. They stretched their stiff limbs, ready to explore the sunny beach. The waters before them were shallow and crystal clear, surrounded by a dense grove of coconut trees. Yet the area felt eerily quiet. Where are we? Sabrina asked. This should be Mikan Island in the Orange Islands, Kai replied, patting Charizard's head. If we're right, there's a town just beyond this grove and an official Orange League gym on the other side. Sabrina frowned. I didn't think such a small cluster of islands would have its own Pokémon League. Well, Kai grinned. The Orange League isn't like the Indigo or Johto Leagues. It's run by a local group called the Southern Cross. Trainers can earn the title of honorary trainer by defeating the head trainer after collecting 4 gym badges. Are they strong? Sabrina raised an eyebrow. Compared to Kanto trainers, they're a bit lacking. But the gym leaders here are no pushovers. They'd probably make it to the top 32 in the Indigo League. Sabrina looked skeptical. Is that impressive? Kai chuckled and waved his phone. Most of this I just looked up. Gotta be prepared, right? They decided to rest on the beach before heading into town. Sabrina set up a stove while Kai released his Pokémon, including the legendary birds. What beautiful flames, and those wings are stunning. Sabrina admired Moltres and Articuno. I can't believe you've collected all 3, she said, awe in her voice. Catching them wasn't the hardest part, Kai admitted. Finding their habitats was tricky. But don't underestimate their strength. Moltres seemed calm because Zapdos and Articuno teamed up to subdue it. Intrigued, Sabrina leaned in. What happened? When the battle started, Moltres unleashed a firestorm, turning the valley into an inferno. I had to use Zapdos' thunder and Articuno's blizzard to weaken it enough to catch. Sabrina wiped spittle off her face, teasing, so that's when you caused the volcano to erupt. Kai froze, then smiled. You're right. No one else has gathered all 3 legendary birds. Meanwhile, the 3 legendary Pokémon settled in separate corners of the beach, avoiding each other. Kai scratched his head. Getting them to work together will be a challenge. They're all so stubborn. The next morning, they set out for the Mikan Gym. As they walked under the towering coconut trees, Kai warned, Watch out for falling coconuts. This is the season, and they can knock you out. Just as he spoke, a coconut fell toward him. Sabrina waved her hand, redirecting it to land at Kai's feet. You're welcome, she smirked. Kai was impressed, but annoyed. I didn't ask for your help. They spotted a warehouse-like building near the coastline. Is that the Mikan Gym? Sabrina asked. Looks like it, Kai replied. Before they could approach, Haunter floated toward a coconut tree, fixated on something half-buried in the ground. Haunter? What is it? Kai asked. Ka, come here and see, Haunter called. They approached and noticed a fish line tied to a coconut, leading to a small boy perched on a treetop, grinning mischievously. Realizing his trap was discovered, the boy tipped over a bucket, spilling cold water toward them. Kai furrowed his brow, but before the water hit, Sabrina redirected it back at the boy, drenching him. Wah! He yelped, losing his balance and tumbling from the tree. Gardevoir caught him midair, and Kai demanded, "Who are you?" The boy thrashed, yelling, "Put me down." When he refused to answer, Gardevoir lowered him a few feet and released him. He landed, muddy and humiliated. "Now tell me, who are you?" Kai asked again. The boy scrambled to his feet, ready to run, but Haunter flicked out its tongue, giving him a frosty lick. "Wah!" He shuddered, and Kai noted he looked like a mini Brock. "I'll ask one more time," Kai said. "Who are you? Was that trap your idea?" The boy, shivering, crossed his arms. "It's not a prank. That trap was to stop arrogant challengers like you." Oh, Kai raised an eyebrow. "So you're part of the Mikan gym?" "Of course," the boy declared. "If you know what's good for you, let me go. My sister will be here soon, and she'll make you regret messing with me." Before Kai could respond, Sabrina stepped forward, her icy demeanor making the boy shrink back. "You're insufferable," she said. "Let me teach you some manners." With a wave of her hand, the boy was lifted into the air, spinning helplessly. Just then, a woman with long auburn hair ran toward them, exasperated. "Senta, what have you done this time?" she sighed. The boy shouted, "Sissy, help me! They're here to challenge the gym." "Sissy?" The Mikan gym leader turned to Kai and Sabrina. "I'm sorry about my brother. I'm Sissy, one of the Orange League's Southern Cross stars." Kai nodded. "I'm Kai, and I've come to challenge your gym. This is my companion, Sabrina." Kai Sissy frowned, studying his face before her eyes lit up. "Wait, you're the undefeated champion of this year's Indigo League, right?" Surprised to be recognized in such a remote place, Kai smiled modestly. "That's me!" Sissy laughed. "I didn't expect someone like you to challenge our little Orange League. I'm honored. Pokémon battles aren't about fame. If a challenge is worthwhile, I'll cross oceans for it," Kai replied. Sissy clapped, impressed. "Spoken like a true champion. Now about my troublemaking brother, I apologize for his actions. Could you let him down as a favor to me?" Kai nodded and gestured for Sabrina to lower Senta. As Senta's feet hit the ground, he collapsed, dizzy and terrified. Sissy led them to the Mikan gym by the sea. Inside, it felt plain compared to the extravagant gyms in Kanto. "Miss Sissy, could you explain the rules for this gym battle?" Kai asked. "You've asked the right question," Sissy grinned. "Our battles are different from Kanto. Many challengers expect standard rules and don't understand our traditions." She pressed a button, revealing empty cans and a rectangular swimming pool. "For the first round, we'll each send out a water-type Pokémon to hit those cans with Water Gun. Whoever knocks down the most wins." Sabrina raised an eyebrow at the unusual rules. "Is this a gym battle or a child's game?" Kai, however, appreciated the challenge. "Sounds fair. My choice is..." He released Blastoise into the pool. Seadra, Sissy's Pokémon, was powerful with its sharp spines and venomous barbs, but Blastoise had its own advantages with its twin cannons that could fire 3 streams simultaneously. Sissy called over Senta, "Bring out the bubble machine." Senta eagerly complied, and soon, ping-pong-sized bubbles floated into the air. Seadra reacted instantly, popping them with pinpoint accuracy, short, quick, and incredibly precise. Kai clapped, impressed by Seadra's training. The two Pokémon floated at opposite ends of the pool. At Sissy's signal, a countdown began. "Ready, set, go!" Seadra shot a narrow jet of water while Blastoise fired a thicker stream. The clang of cans echoed as they struck. Kai observed quietly. Blastoise's brute strength allowed it to knock cans flying, even if it lacked Seadra's finesse. The Seadra sped up. Kai commanded, "Blastos, use multi-water gun." Blastoise's twin cannons fired, creating 3 streams in a triangular formation. "He's cheating," Senta protested, but Sissy stayed silent. The move was within the rules. Both Pokémon knocked down the last can at the same time, resulting in a tie. Sissy smiled, though frustration lingered in her voice. "Your Blastoise did well. Looks like this round ended in a draw." Kai was pleasantly surprised, knowing Blastoise wasn't suited for precision tasks. Sissy pressed a button, revealing a stunning view of the ocean. For the next challenge, we'll move on to accuracy with moving targets. Seadra, give them a demonstration. A machine launched a red disc into the sky. Seadra fired a water gun, shattering it mid-air. Clean and precise. Your Seadra is exceptionally well trained, Kai praised. Sissy crossed her arms, confident. Moving targets are much harder. Ready for the second round? Kai grinned. We're ready. Who goes first? He asked. That should be obvious, Sissy replied. As the gym leader, I'll show you how it's done. Yes, Senna eagerly approached the machine, launching 3 discs into the air. Seadra popped them all with perfect timing. Woohoo! Senta cheered, confident of victory. When Seadra stepped back, Blastoise took its position. Senta, with a mischievous grin, adjusted the machine to increase the speed of the discs. Unbeknownst to him, Haunter had been watching. It floated to Kai and whispered in his ear about Senta's tampering. Kai remained calm. He called Blastoise back, whispering a strategy. Blastoise looked surprised, but nodded determinedly. Ready to begin? Sissy asked.
Okay, straightened.
Go ahead. At his signal, Blastoise charged its cannons. Sissy frowned, unsure of his strategy. Senta excitedly hit the launch button. 3 fast discs shot into the sky. But instead of targeting the discs, Blastoise aimed at the launcher. Twin streams of water blasted the discs just as they left the machine. Crash. Shards rained down, soaking Senta completely. Ah, Senta yelped, stumbling back in shock. Kai folded his arms, calm but firm. Tampering with the equipment, huh? Did you really think I wouldn't notice? Sissy turned to her brother, eyes wide with disbelief. Senta, you didn't? Hee. Haunter floated forward, lifting the launcher with surprising strength and placing it down with an exaggerated bow. Here you go, Miss Sissy. Seems the Mikan Gym has a unique feature I wasn't aware of, Kai said, gesturing to the evidence. Sissy's face paled as she inspected the machine. You... She stormed over, anger radiating from her. Senta, how could you pull a stunt like this? But it was just a joke, Senta stammered, backing away. Don't give me that excuse, Sissy flicked Senta's forehead. Do you realize what you've done? Cheating during an official match? You've embarrassed the entire Orange League. Ow! That hurt? Senta whined, clutching his head. Out. Now. Sissy pointed toward the exit. Lay out. Her voice echoed, leaving no room for argument. Senta, thoroughly chastised, slinked toward the side door, muttering as he left. With Senta gone, Sissy sighed, her fiery demeanor replaced by embarrassment. I'm so sorry you had to witness that. I've spoiled him too much. Please, don't spread the word. It would damage my reputation and the League's... Kai's gaze remained steady. I told you earlier that your brother needed discipline. What he did was outright cheating. If you don't handle this now, it'll only get worse. Sissy nodded, her face flushed with shame. You're right, I swear, it won't happen again. With that resolved, Kai shifted the focus back to the challenge. So what's the final challenge, Miss Sissy? Sissy, now with newfound respect for Kai, replied, the last round is a surfing race. If you win, you'll earn the Coralai badge. She recalled Seadra and led Kai and Sabrina to a nearby beach. The sound of waves greeted them as they walked along the shore, leaving footprints in the sand. Sissy pointed to a buoy with a red flag swaying in the distance. Whoever's Pokémon reaches it first, circles it, and returns wins. Kai squinted, estimating the buoy was about 700 meters from shore. Sissy seemed prepared, releasing her own Blastoise into the water. Kai decided to switch out his Blastoise, retrieving its Pokeball. Alright, it's your turn, Gyarados. With a thunderous roar, the massive red Gyarados emerged, its presence causing Sissy's Blastoise to take a step back. Sissy stared in awe. Is this a shiny? I've rarely seen one as intimidating as this. Kai shrugged. I mostly use it for transportation. You're telling me you use a Gyarados this powerful as a fairy? What a waste of potential, Sissy exclaimed. He waved a hand, modestly, pride evident in his tone. I have a few like it, so it's not rare for me. Sissy shook her head with a smile. Oh, I forgot to mention this is a surfing race. Trainers ride along with their Pokémon. Kai raised an eyebrow, but followed suit, leaping onto Gyarados' back. Sabrina acted as the referee, raising her arm and firing a starter pistol into the air. Bang! The race began with both Pokémon surging forward. Gyarados quickly gained the lead, while Sissy relied on her experience to guide Blastoise through the currents. Kai directed Gyarados to take the inner lane as they approached the buoy. Stay on the inside. Just then, Blastoise rammed into Gyarados, causing it to falter. Sorry about that, Sissy called, mocking innocence. But this is a Pokemon race. Contact is inevitable. Kai narrowed his eyes, but focused on maintaining their lead. Gyarados recovered and circled the boy with precision, heading back to shore. Blastoise pushed itself, but the gap widened. Gyarados' size and strength proved insurmountable, and it reached the finish line 3 body lengths ahead. Gyarados roared victoriously as it reached the shore. Kai dismounted, patting his Pokemon. Well done, Gyarados. You've earned a nice long rest. Sissy arrived, her Blastoise panting. What a powerhouse. I didn't stand a chance. Kai smiled politely. Your Blastoise did well. Competing against a Gyarados in open water isn't easy. Sissy chuckled. That's kind of you, but I'll admit defeat. Congratulations, Kai. You've earned the Coralai badge. As Kai stepped onto the shore, Sabrina greeted him with a rare smile. Sissy approached, holding a pink, glimmering seashell. Congratulations on your victory, she said warmly. You've earned the Coralai badge. Kai looked down at the badge, noticing the glass-like blue gemstone at its center. This is the Coralai badge? He asked, admiring it. Sissy explained. All 4 Orange League badges are made from different shells, reflecting each gym's character. Kai nodded, glancing at his watch. Thank you, Miss Sissy. But it's getting late. We need to move on. Wait, Sissy called, handing him a small display case. Here, take this badge case. Consider it an apology for earlier. Kai accepted it with a smile. Thanks. I'll make good use of it. He summoned Charizard, who swooped down from the rooftop. Once settled, Charizard launched into the sky, carrying them toward their next adventure, as Sissy waved from the shore. Evening at Sunburst Island's beach. Flying eastward, Charizard carried Kai and Sabrina across the sea. With daylight fading, they decided to stop at Sunburst Island for the night. Charizard landed on a quiet beach, where they noticed a young girl throwing glass bottles into the ocean. Startled by Charizard's arrival, she squealed and flung her remaining bottles into the water before darting off. Kai and Sabrina exchanged glances. What's she doing? Sabrina asked. Kai shrugged, intrigued. Let's grab one of those bottles and find out. Wading into the shallows, Kai retrieved a bottle. Inside, they saw a piece of rolled-up paper. A message in a bottle? Sabrina raised an eyebrow. Who still uses such an old-fashioned method? Kai chuckled. It's probably just her way of making a wish, hoping the sea or whoever finds it will make it come true. As Kai spoke, memories of a similar scene from the anime flashed through his mind. He pulled out the cork and unrolled the note, confirming his hunch. The message read, if anyone knows anything about the crystal Onyx, please let me know. Sincerely, Marissa from Sunburst Island. Bingo. Just as I thought. Marissa? Sabrina repeated, glancing in the direction the girl had fled. That must be her name, but crystal Onyx? Does something like that even exist? Kai nodded, studying the note's uneven handwriting. It does. This world is full of wonders we haven't discovered yet. Now that we've found this note, why not look for it ourselves? Sabrina raised an eyebrow. You're seriously planning to chase after a child's fantasy. What if it's just her imagination? Kai grinned. Trust me, I know a thing or two about the crystal Onyx. This will be worth the effort. He recorked the bottle and tossed it back into the ocean, watching it drift away. The setting sun painted the sky in brilliant hues, and the lights of Sunburst Town began to twinkle as they headed into town. Sunburst Town. Sunburst Town, nestled on Sunburst Island, was a vibrant hub known for its glass artisans. Every shop displayed intricate glassworks that sparkled under the glow of streetlights, attracting visitors from all over. As Kai and Sabrina strolled through the streets, they admired the craftsmanship. Their adventure on Sunburst Island was just beginning, with the promise of the crystal Onyx and more mysteries ahead. By nightfall, all the major hotels were fully booked due to the growing number of tourists. After searching for a while, they found a modest guest house tucked away in a quiet corner. The owner, a kind, elderly woman with silver hair, mistook them for a couple and arranged for one room. When Kai clarified, she chuckled and assigned separate rooms. Oh, forgive me. My old eyes must have failed me. You two look so well matched. Kai glanced at Sabrina, expecting irritation, but her expression remained calm. If this had been her old self, she would have reprimanded the woman, but she seemed more open now. Kai hesitated to form attachments, fearing he'd be whisked back to his original reality. For now, he decided to focus on their adventures ahead. The next morning, after a restful night and a hearty breakfast, Kai and Sabrina set off again, riding atop Charizard as it soared through the sky. Below, lush forests and sandy beaches glinted in the morning light. Sabrina turned to Kai. How do you plan on finding this crystal onyx? We have no clues. Kai grinned, patting Charizard's neck. I don't have a solid plan, but I have a hunch we're heading to a specific spot where I think we might get lucky. A hunch? Sabrina raised an eyebrow, skepticism evident. Unlike their search for Moltres, they were flying blind this time. As Charizard ascended, Kai scanned the landscape. His eyes locked onto a small, uninhabited islet connected to Sunburst Island by a narrow sandbar. There, he exclaimed, pointing, that's the spot. Charizard veered toward the islet, dominated by a barren hill surrounded by dense foliage. Why are you so certain this is the place? Sabrina asked, intrigued. Kai chuckled. Not gonna lie, I'm actually a reincarnated traveler. I know these things because I've seen them in a game and an anime from my previous life. Sabrina playfully shoved him. If you don't want to explain, just say so. Kai smirked as Charizard descended toward the islet. Sometimes the truth was stranger than fiction. Charizard landed near a cave at the base of the hill. Kai helped Sabrina down, and they summoned Alakazam and Haunter for extra protection before entering the cave. Illuminated by Kai's flashlight, water dripped rhythmically from the ceiling, creating ripples and shallow pools. The damp walls revealed clusters of crystals that glistened like stars. This place is beautiful, Sabrina murmured, her voice filled with wonder. Kai nodded. If the crystal onyx exists, this would be the perfect habitat. They followed a narrow pathway to the cave's deepest part, where crystalline formations covered every surface. Light refracted off the crystals, illuminating the cave in mesmerizing colors. Wow, this place is incredible, Kai said, awe in his voice. If I ever go broke, I might just start mining these crystals. Sabrina raised an eyebrow, a playful smirk crossing her face. The former Indigo League champion reduced to a miner? Quite the headline. Kai laughed, appreciating her humor. Their banner aside, he focused on the underground lake at the center of the cavern, where a steady stream of water trickled down from a wall. The lake was serene, but Kai frowned, scanning the water. Strange. Could it have left a hunt? Or maybe someone already captured it? No, Sabrina said, pointing to the lake. I can sense something there. It's hiding, but definitely watching us. Haunter floated closer, trembling slightly. She's right. Something big is hiding in the water. With Sabrina's psychic abilities and Haunter's keen senses, it was clear the crystal onyx was near. Kai pulled out a Gengar mask he had customized to see through invisibility. As he slipped on the mask and looked at the lake, he spotted a massive serpentine figure shimmering beneath the surface. There you are, Kai whispered, excitedly, gesturing for Sabrina to prepare. The crystal onyx emerged, its enormous crystalline body glinting like a diamond. It's beautiful, Sabrina said, astonished. Kai quickly assessed the situation. Okay, time to test it out. Haunter, stay back. Jolteon, you're up. Jolteon appeared, unleashing a thunderbolt at the Onyx, but it stood unfazed, refracting the energy harmlessly. Electricity doesn't affect it even in water, Kai noted. It must still have the ground typing. The crystal Onyx roared, launching a barrage of rocks toward them. Watch out, Kai shouted, but Sabrina was already ahead, using Alakazam's psychic power to freeze the rocks midair. Good work, Sabrina, Kai said. Blastos, your turn. Use water gun. Blastoise unleashed a powerful jet of water, but it merely washed over the Onyx's surface, showing no significant damage. Water moves aren't effective, Kai muttered. Even as a ground and rock type, its crystal body must give it resistance. Fascinating. The crystal Onyx roared again, preparing to attack. Kai strategized his next move. He knew capturing such a rare Pokémon required a mix of strength and precision. Blastos, fall back. Jolteon, prepare for a quick strike. Sabrina, keep an eye out for surprises. Suddenly, a massive crystal tail swept toward them with a deafening roar. Blastoise braced itself, determined to protect Kai, but the impact of the crystal Onyx's iron tail was overwhelming. It pushed Blastoise back before it fell flat on its back. Kai's eyes lit up with admiration. Impressive. Not only does it have that unique crystal body, but its strength is incredible too. He glanced at Venusaur and nodded. You're up next. Use Vine Whip. Venusaur lashed out with thick vines, striking the crystal Onyx. The attack echoed through the cave as the Onyx finally showed signs of pain. Sabrina observed, nodding. Looks like your theory was right. Its typing is rock and ground, which is why grass-type moves are effective. Kai smirked and pulled out his Pokedex, scanning Pokemon identified. Onyx. Unusual physical properties detected. Would you like to upload data? He shook his head. No. The Pokedex chimed. Upload cancelled. Satisfied. Kai tucked it away. Time to finish this battle. Venusaur, use Razor Leaf. Everyone else, block all exits. Don't let it escape. Blastoise, head into the lake and cut off its retreat. Kai's Pokemon sprang into action. Venusaur's sharp leaves sliced through the air, striking the crystal Onyx. The Onyx let out a bellowing roar as it writhed in pain, shimmering under the dim cave light. Desperate, it dove into the lake, but Blastoise rammed into it with a powerful skull bash, forcing it back onto land. Water sprayed into the air as the battle intensified. Trying to run now? Kai called with a calm smile. Too late. Venusaur hit it with another Razor Leaf. Venusaur unleashed another storm of leaves, while the Onyx retaliated with Rock Throw. Venusaur dodged skillfully, but the Onyx lunged toward the cave wall, trying to tunnel to freedom. Not so fast, Kai shouted. Gardevoir, stop it with Psychic. Gardevoir raised its arms, enveloping the crystal Onyx in psychic energy, freezing it mid-motion. The Onyx thrashed against the restraints. Noticing the Onyx was weakening, Kai grabbed an Ultra Ball and threw it with precision. The ball struck the Onyx, converting it into a beam of red energy before snapping shut. It shook violently before finally clicking still. Kai picked up the Ultra Ball, grinning triumphantly. Great job, everyone, Sabrina said, clapping softly. Congratulations on catching such a rare Pokemon. Kai smirked, holding up the Ultra Ball. Thanks. It's not every day you find a Pokemon like this. With the Crystal Onyx, Kai realized his team was now full with 12 Pokemon. Any future captures would go to storage sent to Professor Cerise's lab instead of Sycamore's, as he felt it inappropriate to send them to someone he hadn't met. Before leaving the cave, Kai snapped a few photos of the crystalline cavern, wanting to preserve the memory. He even convinced Sabrina to pose for a selfie. Smile, he said, holding the phone at arm's length. The camera clicked, capturing their contrasting expressions. Kai's wide grin and Sabrina's faint, serene smile. Satisfied, Kai showed the photo to her. What do you think? Pretty good, right? Sabrina glanced at the image, her gaze lingering on how they leaned toward one another. She quickly averted her eyes, but there was a brightness in her expression. It's fine, she said lightly. It'd make a good screensaver. Send me a copy later. Her tone was nonchalant, but Kai noticed the warmth in her voice. He chuckled to himself. After leaving the cave, Sabrina assumed Kai would head straight to their next destination. To her surprise, he turned back towards Sunburst Island's town center. Didn't we catch the Crystal Onyx? Why are we going back? She asked skeptically. Kai shrugged. Remember that girl who threw the message in a bottle? I figured I'd find her and fulfill her wish to see the Crystal Onyx. Sabrina raised an eyebrow. Since when did you become the type to meddle in other people's business? Kai grinned. It's not entirely selfless. She helped me by pointing us to the right place. Plus, I have a favor to ask her and her brother. Her brother? Sabrina repeated. Curiosity piqued. The streets of Sunburst Island were bustling with tourists and locals. Glass art shops lined the roads, showcasing dazzling creations. Kai scanned every storefront for the little girl. After a dozen stops with no luck, he approached a shopkeeper for help. Welcome. Looking for something special? We have all sorts of glassware. We're running a special discount today, 15% off. Kai smiled politely. Actually, I'm looking for a young girl named Marissa and her older brother, Mateo. Do you know where I can find them? The shopkeeper thought for a moment. Marissa? Mateo? You must mean Mateo. Are you planning to buy something from him? Before Kai could respond, the shopkeeper leaned in conspiratorially. I wouldn't bother. Mateo's work is, well, not worth your time. My shop is the best on the island. Kai held up a hand. Thanks, but I just want to meet them. The shopkeeper sighed and pointed down the street. Their shop is over there, the one with the faded sign. Kai nodded his thanks and headed to the shop. The small glass shop stood out, but not for the right reasons. Its sign was old, the paint peeling. Inside, it was eerily quiet, with shelves sparsely stocked with plain glassware. Kai pushed open the door, greeted by Marissa, the girl from the beach. Hello, welcome to our... she began, but stopped mid-sentence, eyes widening in surprise. It's you. She glanced nervously over Kai's shoulder, likely searching for Charizard. Kai chuckled. You're Marissa, right? She hesitated, taking a cautious step back. How do you know my name? Kai smiled reassuringly. We found your bottle with the message about the crystal onyx. Marissa's face lit up. You did? Do you know where it is? Not so fast, Kai replied. Call your brother over. I'd like to speak with both of you. Mateo emerged from the back, wiping his hands on an apron. I'm Mateo, Marissa's brother. What can I do for you? Kai pulled out a carefully wrapped package, revealing a shimmering chunk of never-melt ice. I'd like to commission a piece, he said, holding it out to Mateo. Something simple but elegant for a Pokémon to wear. Think you can manage? Mateo's eyes widened at the rare material, but then he shook his head. I'm sorry, but I only work with glass. This isn't my specialty. Kai feigned disappointment. That's too bad. I was planning to show you the crystal onyx as payment. Kai and Mateo froze, disbelief evident. Wait, what did you just say? Kai twirled the Pokeball containing the crystal onyx. I've caught the crystal onyx. I was going to show it to you as thanks. Mateo stared at him, disbelief turning to a bitter smile. I find that hard to believe. The crystal onyx is just a legend. My family has searched for it for years. Kai walked to the backyard, pulled out an Ultra Ball, and released the crystal onyx. Its crystalline body, even weary, was breathtaking. That's really the crystal onyx? Mateo and Marissa stood frozen, staring in disbelief. As they moved to examine it, Kai withdrew the onyx back into its Pokeball. Mateo dashed over, clasping Kai's hands. Where did you find it? Kai shook his head. That's not important. What matters is I own this Pokemon. Now, do you believe me? Yes, I believe you. Mateo nodded frantically. Can you sell it to me? Or we can trade. I'll give you any Pokemon you want. Kai's expression turned cold. Not happening. I don't sell my Pokemon, and I definitely don't trade them. But I really need it. Mateo pleaded, desperation clear in his voice. So do I, Kai replied firmly. I'm a trainer, and this Pokemon is a valuable part of my team. Stop dreaming about it. Mateo slumped in defeat. Fine, what about your earlier request? You wanted me to make something from that never-melt ice, right? Surprised by Mateo's shift in attitude? Kai nodded. If you create the accessory I need, I'll let you study the crystal onyx as payment. Sabrina frowned, confused by the exchange. Why was Kai so intent on working with this artisan? Mateo explained, this shop was once the busiest on Sunburst Island. My grandfather was a master glassmaker, but after he passed, I couldn't replicate his success. Everything I make feels lifeless. Sabrina glanced around the shop, noticing the simple yet skillfully crafted pieces. Your work looks fine. Maybe you're being too hard on yourself. Mateo shook his head. It's not just about quality. My grandfather's work had something special. He once encountered the crystal onyx, and I believe seeing it would inspire me too. Mateo paused, looking at Kai suspiciously. But how did you know I was looking for it? Kai shrugged. You said it yourself. Every glass artisan wants to find it. Your sister's message in the bottle mentioned it. It wasn't hard to connect the dots. Mateo ruffled Marissa's hair. Affectionately. Marissa might have helped us without realizing it. People here think the crystal onyx is the embodiment of the glass god. A symbol of perfection. Kai smirked. Aren't you just like them, chasing the same goal for your craft? Mateo opened his mouth to argue, but stopped, realizing Kai was right. All right, I'll make your accessory. Just tell me what you need. Kai handed Mateo photos of Articuno along with measurements. Mateo's eyes widened. This is Articuno? That's right. Just make sure it doesn't interfere with its movement, Kai said. Mateo's jaw dropped. You're not just a trainer. You're extraordinary. Kai grinned. Where should I meet you once it's done? Mateo pointed toward the outskirts of town. I'll bring it to your lodging when it's ready. Back at the Cozy Inn, Kai and Sabrina settled into their rooms. Over the next few days, Kai trained his Pokémon, helping the Crystal Onyx grow comfortable with the team. In the evenings, he and Sabrina explored the island, sampling local delicacies. Their bond grew stronger. Just as Kai began to enjoy this routine, Mateo returned earlier than expected. He stood at the inn store step, proudly holding a masterpiece. Kai, the accessories complete. Sorry for being a day late. I wanted to meet your expectations. Mateo looked exhausted, and Kai felt a twinge of guilt. You've worked hard. Why don't you sit and rest for a while? Mateo handed Kai a cold, frost-covered box. Inside lay the crafted accessory, a sleek necklace-like collar made from never-melt ice. Sabrina crouched beside it. It's incredibly hard. But can it withstand Pokemon battles? Kai turned to Mateo and released Articuno. The legendary Pokémon spread its wings, enjoying the downtime. Mateo darted toward Articuno, eyes sparkling. This is Articuno? It's even more stunning in person. Kai quickly intervened. Easy now. He's harmless, just overly enthusiastic. Realizing his mistake, Mateo backed away, apologizing. I'm so sorry. Seeing a legendary Pokémon up close is a dream come true. Once Articuno calmed down, Kai fastened the accessory around its neck. It fit perfectly, accentuating Articuno's regal appearance. Thank you, Kai said, nodding in satisfaction. This turned out even better than I imagined. Noticing Mateo's hesitant expression, Kai smirked. I'll honor my promise. He recalled Articuno and released the crystal Onyx. Mateo approached the crystal Onyx, examining it closely, but he looked frustrated. What's wrong, Kai asked. Mateo sighed. It's strange. I thought seeing the crystal Onyx would inspire me, but I feel nothing. Kai stroked his chin thoughtfully. Maybe you need to see it in action. How about a battle? Mateo blinked in surprise, but nodded. It's worth a try. Kai and Sabrina stepped back, clearing the inn's courtyard for the battle. I won't give commands. It's just you and the crystal Onyx. Keep the damage to a minimum. Understood. Mateo tossed a Pokeball, releasing his Cloyster. A water type, huh? Kai mused. Solid choice against a regular Onyx, but you're in for a surprise. Cloyster used Water Gun, hitting the crystal Onyx, but it didn't flinch. Mateo fired another Water Gun with the same result. What's going on? Mateo exclaimed. Confusion growing. Kai chuckled. I forgot to mention the crystal Onyx lives in water. Its crystalline body makes it immune to water-type attacks. Mateo's jaw dropped. That's incredible. Fascinated, Mateo returned Cloyster and sent out Charmeleon. This is my last Pokemon. It helped me forge the Nevermelt Ice accessory. Mateo turned to the crystal Onyx. Let's see what you're really made of. Charmeleon. Use Flamethrower. Charmeleon dodged the Onyx's rock throw and unleashed a powerful flamethrower. The attack struck the Onyx, making it roar in pain. Huh? While it didn't deal double damage, it had a significant impact. The Onyx's crystalline body began to glow a fiery red from the heat. Why is this happening? Mateo scratched his head. The Onyx's crystalline body began to glow a fiery red from the heat. Could it be the embodiment of the glass god? Mateo muttered, marveling at the sight. Just then, the crystal Onyx charged forward with a headbutt. Charmeleon dodge and use Fire Spin. Mateo commanded. Charmeleon leaped out of harm's way and created a swirling vortex of flames that engulfed the crystal Onyx. Roar. The Onyx roared in pain, but as the fire spin dissipated, it stood glowing brighter than before, a magnificent fiery jewel. Seeing this breathtaking sight, Mateo froze, trembling. It was as if something clicked in his mind. The area fell silent, even Kai and Sabrina, sensing the moment's importance. After a long pause, Mateo spoke joyfully. I get it now. This is the inspiration I've been searching for. He turned to Kai and bowed deeply. Thank you. I can't express how much this means to me. Kai waved dismissively. You don't need to thank me. You already helped me with the accessory. Mateo shook his head. No, this is different. The inspiration I've gained today is priceless. Compared to that, the accessory is insignificant. Surprised by Mateo's sincerity, Kai nodded. Mateo extended his hand, smiling. I have to get back to my workshop. I can't wait to start creating. Kai shook his hand firmly. Go for it. I hope you become a master artisan someday. And I hope you become an even greater Pokemon trainer. Mateo grinned before hurrying off, brimming with energy and purpose. As Mateo disappeared into the distance, Sabrina turned to Kai. So, are we leaving now? Kai nodded. Yep, let's get moving to our next destination. Sabrina went back to her room to pack. When she returned to the courtyard, she took one last look at their rooms. The past few days had been simple, yet fulfilling, and these memories would always hold a special place in her heart. High in the sky, a Charizard flew swiftly, carrying Kai and Sabrina. Beneath them, the ocean stretched endlessly, reflecting the sunlight. After spending extra days on Sunburst Island, Kai was eager to move on. Following the map, they flew toward Naval Island. As they approached, they spotted a massive volcano dominating the landscape. This island was probably formed by a volcanic eruption, Sabrina remarked. Is it active? Looks dangerous? Kai smirked, feigning ignorance. No way I'm earning the title of Volcano Slayer. They landed on a beach and entered the island's only village. Unlike bustling towns, this settlement was quiet, with scattered single-story houses and gardens.
This feels too remote, Sabrina said skeptically. Are you sure this is the right place?
Kai nodded confidently. Some gym leaders prefer isolated areas to avoid distractions. Before nightfall, they booked 2 rooms at the village inn. Given the sparse population, Kai had no worries about the inn being fully booked. There were no other travelers. The inn was simple, reflecting the locals' agricultural lifestyle. However, as night fell, the faint smell of Tauros manure wafted into their rooms, making the night unpleasant. Kai switched Sabrina's room to one facing away from the wind and tightly shut his own windows. Though stuffy, it blocked most of the smell. The village grew quiet by 7 p.m., and Kai found it hard to sleep. After tossing and turning for over an hour, he finally dozed off, waking up sore and fatigued. After washing up, they headed to the inn's dining area for breakfast. The innkeeper, a broad-shouldered woman, looked him up and down with a knowing smile. "How did you sleep? You're here to challenge Danny, aren't you?" Kai smiled wryly. "It was fine, aside from your Tauros having some issues. And yes, Danny is the gym leader. Right?" "That's right," she beamed. "He's strong and has defeated many challengers. Don't underestimate him." "Thanks for the heads up," Kai replied. "I'm pretty strong myself. I just defeated Sissy from Mekon Island." The innkeeper raised her eyebrows in surprise. "You've beaten Sissy? Not bad." Sabrina asked, "How did you know we were here to challenge the gym?" "It wasn't hard to guess. Naval Island is quiet, so unfamiliar faces like yours must be here for Danny." The innkeeper chuckled. "That makes sense," Kai said. "Do you know where we can find Danny's gym?" She pointed to the towering mountain visible from the window. "His gym is at the summit of Naval Mountain. You might find him on the beach or near the base." After leaving the inn, Kai and Sabrina followed a winding path toward Naval Mountain. Halfway there, they heard lively tropical music from the ocean. Curious, they turned and spotted a small sailboat with a man skillfully navigating the vessel. Sabrina glanced briefly before continuing, uninterested, but Kai lingered, watching the sailor, who appeared to be in his late 20s, bronzed from the sun, wearing a bright red shirt and casual shorts. Kai recalled that Danny, the gym leader, was an outdoor enthusiast. Given the lack of young people on the island, he guessed this man was likely Danny. "Once I'm done traveling, I hope to live as freely as this guy," Kai thought. Recognizing Danny, Kai hurried to catch up with Sabrina. Meanwhile, Danny noticed them heading toward his gym. "Hey, you two! Wait up," Danny called, beached his boat, and leapt onto the sand. "Are you here to challenge the naval gym?" "Yes," Kai replied. Danny's smile widened. "I knew it. I'm Danny, pleased to meet you." He gave a playful salute. "Nice to meet you. Is there something you need?" Kai asked. "Well," Danny scratched his head. "I figured you might not know the way to the gym. I'm heading up to Naval Mountain, so I thought I'd guide you." Kai sensed there might be an ulterior motive. Danny turned to Sabrina. "And what's your name, lovely lady?" Sabrina simply stared at him, her expression neutral, as if he were unremarkable. Danny's confident demeanor faltered. He had been known for his charm, but being ignored like this was a first. He turned his attention back to Kai, who appeared striking with sharp features and youthful energy. Does she like this guy, he wondered, or maybe they're already a couple. But as he observed, he noticed no signs of affection between them. With Danny joining them, the group made their way toward the naval gym. Danny filled the time with stories about Naval Island's history and his adventures as a gym leader. However, his efforts were wasted on Sabrina, who showed no interest, and even Kai seemed bored. Danny felt like he was being watched by something unseen. A strange energy prickling at his senses. "Is it this Kai guy?" he thought, glancing back at him. After a long, awkward walk, they finally arrived at the naval gym's entrance, a massive iron gate at the mountain's base. Danny grinned. "Welcome to the naval gym." With Danny's help, Kai pushed open the heavy gates, revealing a wide courtyard with a modest cabin and a decommissioned cable car. A narrow trail led further up the mountain, disappearing into the clouds. "Is it just you running the gym?" Kai asked, curious how such a large area was maintained. "That's right, no staff, just me. I like to keep things simple," Danny laughed. He led them to a signboard near the cable car with the gym's rules. "Welcome to Naval Gym. Challenge guidelines. To reach the summit, challengers must climb the mountain using only their own strength. Using Pokémon to assist will result in immediate disqualification. Free companions may use the cable car freely. After reading the rules, Sabrina turned to Kai. What's the plan? Kai glanced at Danny, who stood waiting for a response. Well, Kai said with a playful grin, since there's no one else around and no cameras, maybe I'll just take the cable car with you. Nice and easy. Absolutely not, Danny interjected, stepping forward urgently. Clearing his throat, he added calmly, climbing the mountain is a crucial part of the gym challenge. Even if it seems no one's watching, the gym leader is always observing. If you break the rules, it won't count. Kai raised an eyebrow at Danny's defensive reaction. He hoped Danny would reveal his identity as the gym leader, but Danny seemed determined to keep up the charade. Why is he hiding it? Kai wondered. What's the point of this game? Feigning a sigh, Kai said. Alright, I'll follow the rules. He turned to Danny. You said you're heading up the mountain too, right? Go ahead. Danny hesitated. Well, I was planning to climb anyway, so why don't we go together? It'll be safer, and I can show you the best route. Reluctantly, Kai agreed. He handed Sabrina the extra supplies from his bag, ensured she was settled on the cable car, tightened his boots, and followed Danny to the mountain trail. Before them loomed a sheer rock face, the first major challenge. Danny took the lead, scaling the cliff with practiced ease. Kai followed closely, impressed by Danny's technique. The innkeeper wasn't exaggerating. This guy knows his stuff. Despite his earlier skepticism, Kai felt a hint of admiration for Danny's climbing skills. As Kai focused on each step, a surprising calmness washed over him. His trusty haunter kept watch from the shadows, ensuring any misstep wouldn't end in disaster. Just as he settled into the rhythm, a familiar sound caught his attention. A faint mechanical hum. He turned to see Sabrina gliding past in the cable car, giving him a small wave. Keep it up, I'll be waiting for you at the top, she encouraged. That simple cheer fueled Kai's energy. Before long, he caught up to Danny, and they climbed side by side. About 20 minutes later, Danny gestured for a break. Kai dropped onto a flat rock, catching his breath. His gaze wandered to the horizon, where wispy clouds floated close. The view was breathtaking. The emerald forests and sparkling ocean below filled him with pride. Danny grinned at Kai's awestruck expression. Not bad for your first climb, but from here on out, it's gonna get tougher. The slope eases, but it gets freezing up there. Kai nodded, brushing snowflakes from his gloves. No problem. Let's keep moving. As they resumed climbing, Danny's warning proved true. The air grew colder, breaths turned visible, and soon snow began to coat the ground. How high is this mountain? Kai asked, curious about the sudden weather change. Danny chuckled. No one really knows. It's not particularly tall, but the unique climate near the peak causes unpredictable weather. After trudging through the snow, they finally reached the summit, a winter wonderland with geysers erupting in plumes of steam. Kai's legs felt like jelly, and the cold stung his fingers. From across the summit, Sabrina emerged from a small cabin, wrapped in a thick red blanket. She approached, draping a second blanket over Kai's shoulders. Thanks, he sighed in relief, pulling it tighter. Off to the side, Danny stood forgotten, watching with annoyance. There are two people here, you know. Couldn't she have brought one for me too? He thought bitterly. Shaking his head, Danny retreated to the cabin for his own blanket. When he returned, he exhaled deeply. Congratulations, you've passed the first challenge. Kai turned to him, unimpressed. Let me guess, you're the gym leader. Danny froze, caught off guard. What gave it away? It wasn't hard to figure out, Kai replied, crossing his arms. You've been with us the whole time. Danny sighed, defeated. All right, I'm Danny, the E-star of the Orange League and the leader of Naval Gym. He turned to Sabrina, hopeful. Did you guess too? Sabrina glanced at him briefly, her face impassive as she turned her gaze to the geysers. Danny's excitement deflated. So much for that, he muttered. Clearing his throat, he addressed them both. Welcome to Naval Gym. Having made it this far, you're qualified for the gym's official challenges. He held up 3 fingers. To win the badge, you need to beat me in at least 2 of the 3 unique challenges. Are you ready? Kai nodded, steeling himself. For the first challenge, Danny pointed to a geyser. You'll need to freeze boiling water. Let's see if you're up to the task. A geyser erupted dramatically, spewing scalding water. Kai frowned. Freeze boiling water? That's the first challenge? Danny nodded. It's a test of skill and creativity. Good luck. Kai hesitated, glancing at his belt. But I don't have an ice-type Pokémon. Danny shrugged, smirking. Then you'll just have to forfeit the first round. Kai raised an eyebrow. That seems unfair. Surely other challengers don't have ice types. Do they all lose? Danny chuckled. Rules are rules. No exceptions.
Kai sighed, running a hand through his hair. Fine, if that's how it's gonna be. He reached for a Pokeball, sharpening his expression. I guess I'll just have to get creative.
The first round is simple. Use an ice-type move to freeze the water erupting from the geyser. Whoever freezes it first wins. As Danny spoke, he threw his Pokeball into the air. A Nidoqueen materialized on the mountaintop. Danny subtly glanced at the Ultra Ball in Kai's hand, trying to guess which Pokemon he would use. Kai, in turn, glanced at Nidoqueen. Though Nidoqueen was a strong Pokemon, it couldn't naturally learn Ice-type moves. Danny must have trained it to have one. But it didn't matter. Kai had the perfect counter. Come out, Articuno? Danny froze, disbelief washing over him. Articuno. His voice cracked as he stepped closer, needing to confirm it was real. But as he approached, Articuno flapped its wings, causing him to stumble backward. "Okay, Kai, where did you find this ice god?" "Ice god?" Kai raised an eyebrow. "Sorry, but this Articuno isn't the legendary ice guardian of your Orange Islands. I just caught it on my journey." Danny blinked, breath hitching. So this wasn't the Articuno? Relief washed over him. The 3 guardian birds of the Orange Islands were sacred protectors of the ecosystem. The idea that someone could capture one was unthinkable. Yet, after a moment, he realized Articuno was a species and they existed outside the Orange Islands. Danny's perception of Kai shifted instantly. He had regarded him as just another challenger, but now he saw Kai was anything but ordinary. Who are you, really?" Danny asked, his voice tinged with newfound respect.
Without realizing it, his tone had changed entirely. Danny rarely paid attention to events outside the Orange Islands, content in his simple island life.
Kai shrugged casually. "Here in the Orange League, I'm just a regular challenger. But if you looked into recent events outside the archipelago, you'd quickly figure out who I am." Danny instinctively reached for his Pokegear, but stopped himself. They were in the middle of a challenge, now wasn't the time. So he pushed aside his curiosity and focused on the match. Both Pokemon stood side by side, facing the twin fissures in the mountainside, where the geyser would erupt. Danny clenched his fists, feeling a pang of self-doubt as he glanced at Nidoqueen and next to Articuno. Against any other opponent, he'd be confident, but next to Articuno, Nidoqueen seemed painfully average. A tremor rumbled beneath their feet, and seconds later, the geyser erupted, shooting boiling water into the air. "Now," Kai and Danny shouted together. "Articuno, use Ice Beam." "Nidoqueen, use Ice Beam!" Both Pokemon fired their Ice-type attacks, but the difference in power was staggering. Articuno's Ice Beam was thicker and brighter, enhanced by the never-melt ice around its neck, freezing the geyser instantly into a solid pillar of ice. Nidoqueen struggled, taking 5 seconds longer to freeze the water. The winner was clear. Danny stared in astonishment at the ice pillars. Articuno's ice was denser and more durable than Nidoqueen's brittle ice. It ended instantly. "This is the power of Articuno?" Danny murmured in awe. Nearby, the snowfall let up, allowing a clearer view of the icy arena. Sabrina stepped forward, brushing the snow off Kai's shoulders. Kai smiled at her, while Danny felt ignored. "Excuse me, I'm still here," he thought, exasperated. Clearing his throat, Danny forced a grin. "Well, I guess that means you win the first round." Kai nodded eager. "So, what's the next challenge?" Danny took a deep breath. "All right," he said, raising 2 fingers. "The second challenge will test your Pokemon's strength. Will be..." Before he could finish, a loud cracking noise echoed from Nidoqueen's ice pillar. Danny watched in horror as it began to weaken, while Kai's ice remained intact. Suppressing a groan, Danny forced himself to focus. "Okay, on to the next challenge," he muttered, bracing for another defeat. "This time, we'll craft something out of the ice we just froze." He pointed to a wooden board with a diagram of an ice boat. Each trainer can use up to 3 Pokemon to carve their ice into the shape of a boat. Whoever finishes first wins. Kai smiled, thinking how the challenges were just like the anime. "I accept." Sabrina scoffed at the absurdity of crafting ice boats. To her, these challenges felt childish compared to the rigorous standards of the Indigo League. But since Kai hadn't objected, she remained silent, knowing he had his reasons. Danny released 2 more Pokemon, Machoke and Scyther, to join Nidoqueen. Kai recalled Articuno and sent out Gardevoir and Jolteon, with Haunter emerging to complete his trio. Danny's eyes lingered on Gardevoir, intrigued, but there was no time to dwell on that. Once both trainers confirmed their teams, Danny raised his arm, and the challenge began. Both sides' Pokemon immediately got to work shaping their ice into boats. Danny stood back, not giving commands. His Pokemon were experienced. Scyther carved through the ice effortlessly, while Kai's team struggled with the harder ice Articuno had created. Kai directed his Pokemon. Gardevoir used Psychic to rotate the ice. Haunter, cut away that excess part. Jolteon, clear out the ice shavings. Despite their efforts, Danny's Pokemon finished first. Kai sighed, knowing it was a technical challenge where Danny's experience shone through. Looks like we're tied 1-1, Danny said, relieved he hadn't been swept. But now, it's time for the final event. Both trainers pushed their ice boats to the starting line, realizing they would slide down the same steep mountain they had climbed. For this final round, we'll test the bond between trainer and Pokemon. We'll ride our ice boats down the mountain. Whoever reaches the beach first wins, Danny explained. Kai examined the slope. And the course? Do we have to follow a specific path? Danny shook his head. Nope, you can take any route to the finish. Kai smirked. No rules racing, huh? That's right, Danny grinned. He recalled Nidoqueen and Machoke, replacing them with Geodude and Electrode, keeping Scyther as his third Pokemon. Kai sat at the front of his boat with Gardevoir, Jolteon, and Haunter behind him. As the signal light turned green, both trainers shoved off, sending their ice boats plunging down the slope. From above, Sabrina took the gondola down, observing the competition. At first, the ice boats moved gently, but soon they picked up speed. The wind roared in Kai's ears as they hurtled downward, rocky outcroppings looming on either side. Gardevoir, there's a boulder ahead. Turn left. Now to the right, use Psychic to clear that fallen tree. Kai's ice boat sped through the snow, his Pokemon responding instantly to his commands. The cold wind whipped past as they accelerated downhill. This was more than a race, it was a battle for survival. Both ice boats were neck and neck, trading leads as they raced. Danny's heavier team generated more downward force, increasing their speed, while Kai's lighter boat had better maneuverability, allowing them to dodge obstacles. As they neared the climax, the terrain changed to a rocky, winding trail. Kai glanced back, seeing a trail of ice shards behind them. The boats wouldn't last much longer. Sabrina watched from her gondola, certain Kai would reach the finish line first. As they entered the last stretch, a dense forest loomed ahead. Danny knew this part of the course was too thick to pass through directly. The only option was a long detour around the dense forest. Danny steered his boat to the left, but then he saw something shocking. Kai wasn't turning, he was heading straight for the trees. Danny's heart raced. What the? Panic surged through him. No, turn! You can't go through that forest. You'll hit the trees. But Kai stayed calm, his grip tight on the edges of his boat, focused ahead. Then it happened. His boat hit a natural ramp, a jagged rock formation, and soared into the air. Danny's eyes widened. No way! He's not seriously trying to... Kai was going for an aerial shortcut, using the mountain's height to fly over the forest entirely. But the gap was massive. Danny clenched his fists. It's over. But Kai remained calm. As his boat began to drop, he turned his head upward and locked eyes with Sabrina in the gondola, grinning confidently. Haunter, let's fly. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind surged beneath the boat, pushing it forward. Danny's jaw dropped. What? His mind reeled. How was Kai still flying? Then it hit him. Haunter's psychic powers were manipulating the air, lifting them over the forest like a ghostly gust. Danny could only stare in shock as Kai's boat soared across the treetops. Moments later, the ghostly wind vanished and the boat landed perfectly on the ground. Boom! Snow and ice shards exploded as Kai skidded across the final stretch, gliding smoothly across the finish line. He had won. Sabrina stepped off the gondola and approached. Danny turned to Kai, pulling out a small badge. Congratulations, you've conquered the Naval Gym. Here's your Sea Ruby badge. Kai examined it. A pearly white seashell with a polished glass gem shimmering in the sunlight. He placed it in his case, nodding. Thanks, Danny. He turned to Sabrina, and they began walking away together. Danny watched them leave, shaking his head. That guy is something else. He sighed and headed back toward the beach. Time to catch some waves. After leaving Naval Island, Kai and Sabrina continued their journey through the Orange Islands on Charizard's back. High above the ocean, they chatted casually. Suddenly, Sabrina sensed something unusual. "Look below," she said. Kai followed her gaze and saw a speedboat cutting through the waves. What about it?" he asked. "I sense two familiar presences aboard," she explained. "Really?" Kai raised an eyebrow. "Charizard, take us down for a closer look." As they descended, Kai recognized the people on the boat. Ash, Misty, and Pikachu. "So they've made it here too," he mused. On the speedboat, Ash, Misty, and Pikachu were enjoying the ocean breeze, alongside a woman in an orange life vest steering the boat. The shadow of Charizard passed over them, drawing their attention. "Kai!" Misty shouted excitedly, waving vigorously. Kai smiled and directed Charizard closer. He leapt from Charizard's back and landed on deck. "Misty, Ash, I didn't expect to see you here." "That's fate for you." Misty grinned, cradling Togepi. Sabrina floated onto the deck, and Ash was momentarily stunned. "Sabrina, what are you doing here?" Kai answered she's taken a break from her gym leader duties and is traveling with me. Ash and Misty exchanged surprised glances. Misty felt a pang of envy, wishing she could travel with Kai too. At that moment, a young man in a green t-shirt approached, looking at Kai and Sabrina with curiosity. "Who are these two?" he asked. "I'll introduce them," Misty said eagerly. "This is Kai, Ash's greatest rival and the current Indigo League champion. And this is Sabrina, the gym leader of Saffron City." "Nice to meet you," Tracy said, extending his hand. "I'm Tracy Sketchit, a Pokemon watcher." Sabrina raised an eyebrow. "A Pokemon watcher? That's uncommon." Kai shook Tracy's hand. "Nice to meet you. Like Ash, I'm a Pokemon trainer." Tracy furrowed his brow. "Kai, that sounds familiar." Misty puffed out her chest. "Of course! Kai is the reigning Indigo League champion with a perfect undefeated streak." "Wait, that Kai?" Tracy's eyes widened. "I've read about you." Kai chuckled. "Yeah, that's me. But Misty's exaggerating." Tracy was impressed by Kai's humility, despite his accomplishments. Misty added, "That's Marin, who gave us a ride since we're heading in the same direction." Marin nodded while steering. "Hey there." "Nice to meet you," Kai replied. "Wait, where's Brock?" Misty sighed. He stayed behind to help Professor Ivy with research. Kai smirked knowingly. If Brock stayed, I'm guessing Professor Ivy is quite the looker. Ash and Misty laughed. "Pretty much," Ash admitted. "So, where are you all headed?" Kai asked. Ash's eyes lit up. "We're on our way to the next Orange League gym. What about you?" "I've got 2 badges so far, and I'm heading to Truvita Island for my 3rd challenge." Marin turned slightly. "Truvita Island? That's along the way. I can drop you off part of the way." Kai grinned. "That'd be great. Relaxing on a boat sounds nice." As the boat sailed on, they exchanged stories, making the vast Orange Islands feel smaller with familiar faces. The sun began setting, casting a warm glow over the horizon as laughter filled the air. Meanwhile, a strange floating fortress hovered over a cluster of islands. Inside, a peculiar man studied a large map, a sinister smirk on his face. "Soon my dream will come true. The Fire Guardian, the Ice Guardian, the Lightning Guardian, even the Guardian of the Sea will be part of my collection." Suddenly, the radar screen blinked. "Detected 3 legendary Pokemon life signals. Do you wish to engage?" The man approached a massive window, looking down at the islands. A cold gleam flashed in his eyes as he pressed a button, and machinery hummed to life. The fortress's weapon system deployed, locking onto one of the islands before unleashing a barrage of firepower. Boom! Boom! Explosions ripped through the island, tearing apart the landscape. After a dozen rounds, a fierce cry pierced the destruction. From a hidden cave, a Moltres emerged in a fiery blaze, screeching in fury as it soared toward the fortress. The fortress's cannons opened fire on the incoming Moltres, but the legendary bird pressed on, unleashing a massive inferno that clashed with the mechanical adversary. Aboard the speedboat, after talking for so long, a comfortable silence settled over the group as they relaxed. Kai leaned against the railing, sipping water while chatting with Misty. Sabrina gazed out at the sea, lost in thought, but occasionally glancing at Misty, assessing her with an unrateable expression. Misty's proximity to Kai made Sabrina uncomfortable, but she dismissed the feeling. "She's just a child. No need to concern myself with her." The speedboat sliced through the waves, making steady progress toward their next destination. Marin called out, "We're almost there. Get your things ready." Just then, the sky abruptly darkened. Heavy storm clouds rolled in unnaturally fast, swallowing the sunlight and plunging everything into shadow. Did the weather change?" Misty asked, confused. Kai narrowed his eyes at the ominous sky. "No, this isn't natural. It must be a Pokémon." "A Pokémon?" Ash and Misty exclaimed, startled. What kind of Pokémon could cause such drastic weather? Marin nodded. "The ocean can be unpredictable, but the sky doesn't just blacken like this." Before they could react, a massive wave crashed against the boat, sending everyone tumbling. Marin, who had been steering, fell to the floor as the vessel veered off course, at the mercy of the raging currents. Struggling to her feet, Marin lunged for the controls. "It's no use. The boat's out of control." Ash tried to help, but another wave hit them. "Hold on, everyone," Marin cried. The storm's fury was relentless, lightning flashed, the wind howled, and the sea churned violently. Amidst the chaos, they realized how insignificant they were against nature's raw power. Time passed before the wind finally calmed, and the waves settled. Slowly, the group stirred, glancing around in confusion. Marin rubbed her temples, eyes widening in shock. "No way. This is Shamotei Island. How did we end up here?" Kai blinked, recognizing the place. "Looks like fate is at work again." Misty frowned. "Are we far from where we were supposed to go?" "Yeah," Marin admitted, "we've drifted way off course, but since we're here, we might as well take a break." The speedboat floated toward a quiet beach, washing the shore with a gentle scrape. Ash jumped onto land, breathing deeply. Finally, solid ground. I think Tracy stiffened, voice trembling. "We might have another problem." As everyone turned to him, spotting a group of bizarre humanoid creatures atop the stone breakwater, their bird-like heads covered in vibrant feathers. Misty yelped and hid behind Kai as the creatures surrounded them, their strange eyes locked on the group. Just as they were about to defend themselves, one of the creatures spoke in a normal voice. "Wait, is that Marin?" Everyone froze, exchanging glances. They realized these weren't Pokémon, they were people in elaborate bird costumes. Marin blinked. "You are?" A woman removed her mask, revealing her face. "It's me, Marin. It's been so long." Marin's eyes lit up. "Carol, it must have been at least 5 years since we last met." "Yeah," Carol chuckled. "I never expected to see you again like this." Marin glanced at Carol's attire. "What's with your outfit?" "The festival, of course." Carol waved enthusiastically. "It starts today and is a huge event for Shamotei Island." "Oh, it's that time of year already," Marin realized. "Are you still the festival maiden?" "I retired from that role," Carol said. "My younger sister took over." At that moment, a girl walked up onto the breakwater. "I don't want to be some festival girl," she declared, hands on her hips. The girl was slightly older than Ash and Misty, dressed in modern, stylish clothes. Despite her outburst, Carol seemed unfazed. "What's with that outfit? Where's your festival attire?" Carol asked. "Ugh, I hate it. The festival doesn't start until evening, so why rush?" "Honestly," Carol sighed before turning to Kai and the others. "This is my little sister, Melody. She's a bit rebellious." "I understand," Kai said with a smile. "Everyone goes through that phase." Carol shifted her attention to the group. "Who are these people with you?" "Oh, I forgot to introduce them," Marin said. "I picked up these travelers on my way to Truvita Island." She gestured to Kai and Ash. "These two are Pokémon trainers." "Pokémon trainers?" The festival goers cheered, even Melody showing newfound interest. Just then, an elderly man stepped forward, removing his mask. "It is foretold, when the world is on the brink of ruin, the Sea Guardian shall appear, guided by a chosen trainer to calm the rage of the gods. And those trainers are you." As he stepped closer, he looked at them seriously. "Relax, it's just an old island tradition," he laughed, noticing Ash's unease. Melody approached Kai and Ash, examining them. "You two are trainers, huh? This handsome one looks strong, but the kid... whatever. Let's seal the deal with a kiss." Before anyone could react, she leaned forward, kissing Kai on the cheek, then Ash. Misty and Sabrina immediately reacted. Misty bristled, stepping in front of Kai. "What do you think you're doing?" Melody blinked innocently. "Whoa, why such a big reaction? You're not his girlfriend, are you?" G-girlfriend. Misty blushed bright red, speechless. Melody smirked. No? Then I guess that beautiful lady behind you must be his girlfriend. Misty's eyes widened in offense. What? Not his sister? Melody teased. Could it be? You're secretly in love with him? Misty's face turned even redder, flustered, and unable to respond. Meanwhile, the dark clouds began to fade, allowing sunlight to pierce through. As the elder raised his arms, declaring, "Let the festival begin," the townspeople erupted into cheers, shaking tambourines and playing traditional instruments. With lively music filling the air, Kai and the others were warmly welcomed in Shamotei Island's town. The town was larger than any they had visited, blending modern buildings with traditional aesthetics. As they walked through the bustling streets, colorful lights illuminated the festival, filled with locals and tourists alike. Street vendors lined the pathways, calling out to passers-by. By the time Kai and his group arrived, most of the bird-like festival goers had dispersed, leaving only Carol to accompany them. Despite the crowd, they found it hard to move forward through the sea of people. Come take a look! Genuine pearls from Shamotei Island! Orange cookies. A local delicacy you can only find here. The air buzzed with merchants' voices blending into a festive noise. Kai took a deep breath, taking in the lively scene. This is incredible. The scale of this festival rivals the Indigo League. Carol laughed. This is Shamotei Island's biggest annual festival. It's the most important day of the year for us. No other festival in the Orange Islands compares. Her pride was clear as they passed a vendor selling masks. Kai bought several bird-shaped masks and handed them to himself. Sabrina and Misty, Ash and Tracy would have to get their own. Suddenly, a procession of lanterns emerged from the crowd, moving in a rhythmic dance. Performers held colorful lanterns, swaying to drum beats, with a massive Gyarados-shaped lantern twisting through the air, making it look like a real Gyarados was swimming through the streets. As they pushed past the crowd, Carol led them to a grand banquet hall with Mayan-style architecture, illuminated by warm torchlight. Long tables were filled with delicious dishes. Everyone, make yourselves at home, Carol said warmly. Eat as much as you like. I'll arrange rooms for you later. She guided Kai and the others to their table before sitting with Marin. Once Carol was out of earshot, Tracy leaned in. They're treating us like honored guests, but I feel like there's more to this. Who cares? Misty shrugged. The food and accommodations are free, so let's enjoy. Meanwhile, Ash kept glancing around. That's weird! Where did that girl go? Wait a second, Misty gasped. Don't tell me you like her? Ash's face turned as red as a tomato berry. No way. I'm just curious. Kai, lost in thought about Shamotei Island's legends, recalled a crazed collector who tried to capture the legendary birds to summon Lugia, the guardian of the sea. The specifics of how he was stopped, though, were frustratingly hazy. As Kai pondered, Sabrina glanced at him. What are you thinking about? Don't tell me you're thinking about that girl. Come on, do I look love-struck like Ash? Kai replied, but he was surprised by her reaction. Could she be jealous? Sabrina turned away, and Kai chuckled, reaching for a soft, pear-like fruit. When he bit into it, a sweet flavor burst in his mouth. This is amazing. Everyone tried the fruit and agreed it was delicious. Suddenly, the sound of a flute filled the hall. Everyone turned to the stage, where Melody appeared, transformed. She wore a flowing white gown, a floral wreath, and a sheer veil, looking ethereal as she played an enchanting melody. Melody, everyone, including Carol and Marin, was captivated. Kai couldn't shake the feeling that, while the music was beautiful, it felt melancholic, like a lament for something lost. When the performance ended, Melody walked to their table and dramatically proclaimed, "The wrath of the heavens, the world is on the brink of destruction. The guardian of the sea shall rise, guided by a chosen trainer." She knelt between Kai and Ash, gazing at them intensely. "If either of you is the chosen one, prove it." Ash blinked, confused. Seeing his blank expression, Melody whispered, "Relax. It's just a tradition. We do this every year." Carol rolled her eyes at her sister's antics, but said nothing. "Proving yourselves isn't hard," Melody grinned. "Just visit Fire Island, Ice Island, and Lightning Island to retrieve 3 sacred treasures, then place them on the shrine altar here, and I'll perform the festival song." Ash asked, "Where do we find them?" "Inside the shrines on each island. There are special boats to take you there. and stairs leading up to the shrines. Easy peasy. Kai exchanged glances with Tracy and Misty. It was clear this was a festival tradition, a way to reenact the legend and attract visitors. Ash hesitated, feeling like a regular trainer, not some legendary chosen one. But Melody's casual tone ignited his competitive spirit. Got it. I'll go right now. Melody giggled, pushing him back. No need to rush. The festival lasts until tomorrow. Relax and enjoy. But Ash wasn't the type to sit around. He stood up again, declaring, if something can be done today, it must be done today. That's my philosophy.
The room fell silent, everyone staring at Ash in disbelief. Was he really trying to impress Melody?
Misty realized, oh no, he's completely smitten. Even Melody seemed caught off guard. Before she could respond, Marin clapped Ash on the shoulder. I like your attitude. I'll take you to Fire Island myself. Really, thanks a lot, Ash beamed. He turned to Kai. Are you coming with me? Sure, why not? Kai shrugged. He had nothing else to do and was bored with traveling. Sabrina and Misty stepped forward to join, but Kai held up a hand. The island isn't far. We'll be back soon. You two should stay here. Misty pouted but relented, while Sabrina nodded in understanding. With everything settled, Kai, Ash, and Marin left the banquet hall for the docks. Instead of a festival boat, they took Marin's personal speedboat. As they left the harbor, the speedboat roared through the dark waves toward Fire Island. The night wind was sharp and thick storm clouds swallowed the moon and stars. Not a good sign. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Boom! A flash of lightning lit up the sky, followed by heavy rain that forced them into the cramped cabin for shelter. How much further to Fire Island? Kai asked. About half an hour, Marin replied. Short, Kai nodded. That wasn't far at all. Suddenly, a dull thud echoed from the bow of the boat. What was that? Kai narrowed his eyes. Hear what? Marin asked, confused. I thought I heard something, Kai said, trying to spot anything unusual in the dark waters. Nothing but endless black. Maybe it was just my imagination. Meanwhile, a short distance away, three figures struggled to pull themselves onto a floating piece of wreckage. James spat out seawater. That was terrible. Jesse snapped. Those fools ran over our submarine and left us to drown. It was already leaking, James pointed out, weakly. Idiot. That was our precious submarine. Jesse fumed. Enough. Meowth interrupted. I saw who was on that boat. It was the twerp and his Pikachu, and that guy Kai was with him. Jesse and James perked up. They met up again? James asked. And they're heading somewhere together? Jesse's eyes narrowed. Could this mean something big is about to happen? The more you worry, the more likely it is to happen. Kai felt like Murphy's Law was in full effect as they sailed through the stormy sea. At first, they were just worried about the heavy rain, but now the ocean was raging. 2-meter-high waves crashed against the speedboat, making it hard to stay balanced. Thunder boomed, and lightning illuminated the stormy night. Marin, a seasoned sailor, grimaced as she tightened her grip on the wheel. This is bad. I hope we don't get hit by lightning. She chuckled nervously. I thought we'd have calm waters after the earlier storm. If I had known, I wouldn't have agreed to go out tonight. Back on Shamotei Island, Melody stared out at the storm through a rain-speckled window, brows furrowed in concern. The flickering torches cast ominous shadows, mirroring her turmoil. Raindrops soaked her white veil, but she was focused on where Kai and Ash had disappeared into the storm. This is dangerous. They're out in this weather? Her stomach tightened. She had to act. Sister? I need to borrow a boat. Carol blinked. At this hour? What for? Melody clenched her fists. If I hadn't suggested that tradition, they wouldn't be in danger. Sabrina stood up. This isn't your fault. No one could have predicted the weather. Melody relaxed slightly but was determined. And yet I still have to go. Turning to Misty, she said, if you want to stay, I'm coming too. Misty interrupted. I wouldn't feel right just sitting here. Tracy, holding a drumstick and skewer, sighed. Guess I'm coming too then. Melody hesitated but saw their determination. All right, but if anything happens, I'm not taking responsibility. Bang. A monstrous wave lifted the speedboat, flinging it into a jagged reef. Crash. The impact sent it crashing onto Fire Island's rocky shore. Ash groaned. Ugh, that was rough. Marin winced. Oh, I think I nearly broke something. After checking the boat, she sighed in relief. The hull is damaged, but it's still seaworthy. Just then, Pikachu leaped off the boat into the darkness. Pikachu, where are you going? Ash panicked and ran after it. Marin shouted, hey, stay put, but her voice was lost in the storm. Kai chuckled, thanks for bringing us this far, Marin. We'll handle the rest. You should check on the boat. Marin shook her head. Fine. You guys are the trainers. Good luck. Turning on his flashlight, Kai stepped onto the barren volcanic island. Fire Island was the result of an ancient eruption, with jagged rocks and hardened lava. Following Melody's earlier directions, Kai found a stone staircase leading up toward the crater. He released Gardevoir and Jolteon for safety. Be careful, Haunter's voice echoed. I feel it too. Something is about to happen. Kai nodded. Stay alert. As he climbed, the silence was unsettling. No wild Pokémon, just the howling wind. At least the rain had stopped, but after what felt like ages, he reached the summit and spotted Ash and Pikachu. Ash, Kai called out. You really ran ahead? What did you find? Kai, look at this. Ash stepped aside, revealing a small, ancient shrine with a strange metallic bird Pokémon statue embedded in the rock. Kai's eyes narrowed. This was no ordinary artifact. Something about it felt powerful, and an unsettling sensation crept into his gut. At the center of the bird-shaped carving was a brilliant red gem. This must be the treasure Melody mentioned, Kai said. Go ahead and take it. Huh? Ash blinked. You're not taking it? I'm not interested in being some chosen one. You found it first, so it's yours. Ash hesitated, admiring Kai, but stepped forward to grab the gem. It was firmly lodged. Gritting his teeth, he pulled hard until it popped free. Now removed, the gem revealed itself as a fist-sized glass sphere with swirling flames inside, illuminating the orb with a fiery glow. This feels too easy, Kai noted. All right, stash it away. We should head back. Just as they turned to leave, figures appeared on the staircase below them. Team Rocket had been lurking, waiting for their moment. Ash squinted into the darkness. Who's there? Jessie smirked, flipping her hair. Since you asked so sincerely... James crossed his arms. We'll tell you to protect the world. Okay, that's enough, Kai interrupted, rubbing his temple. I've heard your speech too many times. Just get to the point. Yeah! Ash added. The weather is terrible. Just tell us what you want. Team Rocket froze, thrown off by the interruption. Jessie coughed awkwardly. Since you're in a hurry, we'll make this quick. She pointed at Ash. Hand over Pikachu. James smirked. And that fancy treasure. Kai raised an eyebrow. Their obsession with Pikachu was relentless. Ash tightened his grip on the gem. Forget it. I'm not handing over Pikachu or this treasure. Jessie's grin widened. Oh, so you admit it's valuable. That makes things easier for us. Before they could battle, a thunderous noise echoed from below. A massive black silhouette charged up the steps. What the... Jessie and James barely dodged as the figure crashed down. It was a small sailboat. Kai, Ash, we came to pick you up. Misty's voice rang out from the cabin. You guys! Kai exclaimed.
Of course!
Misty beamed. We were worried, so we came to help. Melody scowled. You should have turned back when the storm hit. What were you thinking? Ash scratched his head sheepishly. Sorry about that. Kai waved dismissively. No point in arguing now. How did you even get up here? Misty grinned. That was all Melody. She adjusted the sails and rode the wind up the stone path. Melody smirked, hands on her hips. For someone raised on Shamotei Island, handling a boat is natural. This was nothing. Kai nodded, realizing their earlier rivalry had softened. Had something happened while he was away? While everyone caught up, Team Rocket saw their chance to escape. Carefully, they inched backward, only to be interrupted by a blinding flash of light. A massive figure streaked across the night sky, crackling with raw electricity. That's Zapdos, the god of thunder? Melody gasped, her confidence shaken. This was Fire Island, Moltres' territory. Why was Zapdos here? Kai felt a tug at his belt as the 3 Ultra Balls began trembling violently. Sensing a worthy opponent. Looks like a legendary battle is near, he thought, with a creepy smile. Zapdos flapped its wings, unleashing a storm of lightning. Ash, Team Rocket, and the others dove for cover beneath the sailboat, trying to avoid the deadly bolts. But Kai remained still, watching calmly. As a powerful bolt streaked toward him, Gardevoir raised her arm, forming a shimmering psychic barrier. Boom! The lightning struck, exploding in sparks. The Ultra Balls on Kai's belt trembled even more. "Hold back for now," he whispered. "This isn't an attack. The real show hasn't even started." If his Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres were reacting strongly, this Zapdos was special. Larger than normal, it circled overhead before descending onto the shrine at the volcano's peak. Suddenly, a massive pulse of electricity surged outward, spreading a strange blue mist within the crater. Misty, Melody, and Sabrina arrived beside Kai, panting from their climb. "What's it doing?" Sabrina frowned. Kai touched his hair, feeling static electricity. "It's altering the island's magnetic field." Melody's eyes widened. "What?" Kai nodded. "It's claiming Fire Island as its territory." Melody looked anxious. "But Fire Island belongs to Moltres. Where is it?" Kai narrowed his eyes. It must have been captured. Before they could process that, Pikachu unleashed a small jolt of electricity at Zapdos. "What are you doing?" Jessie gasped. "You idiot," Meowth sighed. "Pikachu's trying to communicate." Jessie blinked. "What?" "Electric Pokemon can talk through pulses just like psychic Pokemon use telepathy," Meowth explained. But Kai nodded. "Pikachu is asking why Zapdos is here, when this island belongs to Moltres." "But Zapdos isn't acknowledging it," Misty muttered. Sure enough, Zapdos barely reacted, but finally, it flicked its wings and sent a small bolt back. Meowth translated, "Zapdos says the master of this island is gone. If there's no master, then I'll rule it instead. This island is mine now." Melody paled. "What? Moltres is gone." Before anyone could respond, Pikachu's electric pulse and Zapdos' lightning strike veered upward. Kai's eyes snapped to the sky. Something was pulling their electricity away. A colossal airship descended, looming ominously, with massive rods crackling with energy. It was absorbing all the electricity. Realizing this, Zapdos flared its wings and fired a massive thunder attack at the ship. But the lightning disappeared on impact. Zapdos looked weakened, panting heavily. Kai clenched his fists. Just as Zapdos tried to flee, the ship's underside opened. Large metallic rings shot out, locking around Zapdos in midair. Melody's eyes widened. "What the hell is that?" Kai knew who was behind this. Zapdos flailed, firing bursts of electricity, but the rings absorbed them effortlessly. Several rings suddenly changed direction and descended toward them. Sabrina's hair lifted slightly, her psychic energy stirring. "Should I destroy them?" she asked calmly. "Not yet," Kai replied, glancing up at the airship. "I think we're about to meet the person behind this." He returned Gardevoir and Jolteon to their Pokeballs. Misty and Melody stared in horror as the rings closed in, ensnaring everything, including their boat. "What's happening?" Misty shrieked. Ash and Tracy tried to break free, but the rings shocked everyone who resisted. Not even Pikachu's Thunderbolt made a dent. The restraints lifted them into the air, dragging them toward the fortress. Kai glanced at Zapdos, who was also caught, struggling in vain. This was it. The true battle was about to begin. Inside the airship's cargo hold, the prisoners were crammed tightly in a suspended metal cage. Ash rubbed his forehead, wincing. "Ouch. Is everyone okay?" "I'm fine," Tracy replied, though his face was squished against the bars. "What about you, Kai?" "I'm good," Kai said calmly, though he was sandwiched between several people. In front of him was Sabrina, to his left was Misty, and to his right was Melody, practically leaning into him. Behind him was Jessie. Sabrina noticed something. "What's that in your pocket?" she asked, feeling something firm press against her. Kai stiffened. "Wait, hold on, don't move. It's just, this cage is cramped." Sabrina raised an eyebrow. "I still don't understand why you stopped me earlier," she muttered. "Don't worry," Kai replied. "They caught us, so they'll want to explain their plans first. That gives us a chance to figure out what they're after." Meanwhile, Misty and Melody were also struggling in the tight space. Suddenly, Kai's arms were enveloped in something soft. His heart skipped a beat. "Oh no!" Melody was too focused on something else. "Look!" she gasped. Everyone turned to see Zapdos locked in another cage, right next to Moltres. "The God of Fire!" Melody exclaimed. They caught it too. Kai was internally screaming. He quickly redirected his attention to an ancient stone tablet in a glass display case below the captured Pokémon. "What's that?" He nudged Melody, accidentally brushing against her bare stomach. Kai retracted his arm. "This is a disaster." Melody leaned forward, reading the inscriptions aloud. "The fire, ice, and thunder gods must never be disturbed." "Wait, Isn't this the prophecy from the legends? What's it doing here? Simple, Kai replied. This prophecy is why they're hunting the legendary birds.
Melody's eyes widened, which means...
She turned to Kai, shocked. The next target must be Articuno. Melody froze, realizing she was pressed against Kai. Ah, she gasped, pulling away, face bright red. Misty smirked, tightening her grip on Kai's arm and leaning in closer. A mechanical humming interrupted them. Kai looked up as a large platform descended from the ceiling. Standing atop it was a man with an eerie, smug grin. Hello, you're the first uninvited guest here, he said smoothly. How does it feel? His gaze landed on the cages. The god of fire, Moltres, and the god of thunder, Zapdos. My newest prized possessions. A chill ran down Misty's spine. What the heck is wrong with you? The man smirked. Oh, I'm not a Pokémon trainer, I'm a collector. His eyes gleamed. I capture rare, legendary Pokémon and put them on display. Feel free to admire my collection, but do not touch the exhibits. With a snap of his fingers, clank. The cage split apart and everyone lost their balance, tumbling to the ground. Kai moved quickly, catching Sabrina and slowing their fall with Gardevoir's subtle psychic influence. The collector didn't even notice. Kai exhaled quietly. Just then, a robotic voice echoed through the airship. Articuno detected, tracking, target locked. The collector's eyes lit up. Excellent. He stepped back onto the elevator, grinning. The god of ice has appeared. My collection is almost complete. Kai's gaze hardened. It's starting. This was the final phase. Soon, Lugia would appear. For Ash and the others, the past few minutes had been overwhelming. They had seen Zapdos and Moltres been captured and thrown into this massive flying fortress, all at the hands of the so-called collector. Finally snapping out of their shock, Ash muttered, "Did he just write us off as unimportant? What should we do now? Should we break them out?" Before anyone could respond, Melody approached the stone tablet at the center of the room, tracing her fingers over the ancient inscriptions. This is identical to the prophecy passed down on Shamotei Island for generations. She clenched her fists. If he disrupts the balance between the three legendary birds, nature's rage could plunge the world into destruction. Total destruction. Misty frowned. Isn't that a bit dramatic? It's just 3 Pokémon! Don't underestimate the consequences, Melody insisted. This prophecy has existed for centuries. If the conditions are met, disaster will come. It's happened before, and it will happen again. Misty hesitated and turned to Kai. Ki, what do you think? Kai paused before asking, have you ever heard of the butterfly effect? Everyone stared in confusion. The what? It's a concept stating small changes can lead to massive consequences, Kai explained. Imagine a butterfree in Kanto flaps its wings, and weeks later, that tiny action causes a hurricane in Johto. Ash's eyes widened. Wait, what? That actually happens? Kay nodded. Shamotei Island is at the center of the Orange Islands, meaning major ocean currents flow through here. Melody added, there's a powerful current near Shamotei that splits into different routes. Exactly, Kai said. Any changes here could affect the entire regional climate. If Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno fight, their storms will disrupt the ocean current. Shamotei Island could be wiped out completely. The room fell silent. Ash gritted his teeth. Then we have to free them and get them back to their islands before they start fighting. Melody agreed. We have to restore the balance, otherwise the world is doomed. Kai remained quiet, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. Or maybe we don't. Everyone froze. What do you mean? Melody's expression darkened. I glanced at the cages. If the collector captures all 3, there won't be a fight. If they're removed from the islands, the balance is permanently disrupted. But if he keeps them locked up, Shamotei Island stays safe. Melody stared at him in shock. That was technically true. For a moment, silence hung in the air. Then they all turned to Melody. This was her home, and she had to decide. Melody bit her lip, torn. But in the end, she clenched her fists. No, I won't let this happen. Her voice was firm. Zapdos and Moltres aren't just symbols. They don't deserve to be locked up. They've lived in harmony for centuries. I believe peace can continue. Kai smiled slightly. That's a good answer. Then let's break them out. Ash rushed forward, grabbing the bars. Zap! A shockwave blasted him backward. He landed flat on his back. Misty face-palmed. You moron. Do you really think a cage strong enough to hold legendary Pokemon can be broken open by bare hands? I knew that. I was just testing it. Ash quickly sat up. Yeah, sure you were. Frustrated, Ash gritted his teeth. Fine. Pikachu used Thunderbolt. Pikachu unleashed a massive electric attack at the bars. BZZT. The room lit up with blinding electricity. When the light faded, the cage was undamaged. What? Ash's jaw dropped. Just then, the airship trembled. What was that? They ran to the window and looked outside. A large island appeared below them, where a massive battle was taking place. Cannon fire rained down from the ship, targeting a giant, majestic bird with gleaming blue feathers. Melody's eyes widened in horror. No! Kai's gaze hardened. The final piece, Misty swallowed nervously. Articuno, the god of ice. The collector had begun his final hunt. If they didn't stop him soon, Lugia would be next. Seeing Articuno struggling against the airship's attacks, Melody clenched her fists. No! We can't delay! We have to free Moltres and Zapdos before Articuno gets captured. They quickly returned to the cages. In addition to Pikachu, Misty and Tracy released their Pokemon to help attack Moltres' cage. Even Jesse and James sent out Weezing and Arbok to assist. Boom, boom, boom. A barrage of attacks hit the cages, but they remained intact. What the heck is this thing made of? Tracy frowned. It's unbreakable. Kai shook his head. No wonder the collector was so confident leaving us here. He knew we couldn't break these cages. But Ash refused to give up. I don't care what it's made of. If we keep attacking, it has to break eventually. Determined, he released Charizard, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur to increase their attack power. Kai scanned the room, his gaze landing on the floor beneath them. To Kai, what are you thinking? Misty asked. Without answering, Kai turned to Haunter. Destroy the floor. Haunter nodded and fired a shadow ball at the ground beneath the cages. Boom! The reinforced floor shattered, exposing a thick black power cable, humming with energy. This is it. Haunter! Break that cable! Haunter fired another shadow ball. Boom. The attack struck the power source, causing a burst of electricity. Sparks flew everywhere. Then the once indestructible cage flickered and collapsed. Yes, Misty cheered. With a mighty cry, Moltres spread its wings, finally free. Without hesitation, it unleashed a powerful flamethrower, destroying Zapdos' cage instantly. But instead of escaping, the two legendary birds turned on each other. Boom! Moltres unleashed a fiery blast while Zapdos countered with a thunderbolt. Their attacks collided mid-air, causing the entire airship to tremble. Melody paled. Wait, they're still fighting. Even now? Kai sighed. Even though we call them legendary Pokemon, they're still just Pokemon. For them, fighting each other is more important than what's happening around them. Melody's heart sank, but their islands are being destroyed. Tracy adjusted his hat. For them, territory isn't important. They can create a new habitat anywhere by changing the magnetic field, he pointed at Zapdos. It doesn't care about keeping its old home. Melody bit her lip. So that means...
We can't stop them.
Just then, boom! Moltres and Zapdos' attacks blew a hole in the airship's hull. The two birds flew out, continuing their fight outside. The others rushed to the window, horrified as they watched the battle unfold. Zapdos unleashed a devastating thunder attack, striking the ship directly. Suddenly, the entire airship trembled. Sparks and smoke erupted everywhere as it began to tilt and fall. We're going down! Misty screamed. The floor lurched beneath them as the ship plummeted toward Thunder Island. Kai's eyes widened. Sabrina understood immediately. With a wave of her hand, her psychic energy surrounded the group, shielding them from the impact. Boom! The airship skidded through the frozen terrain, finally halting at the volcano's crater. Even with Sabrina's barrier, everyone felt dizzy from the impact. Kai studied Sabrina, rubbing his temples before checking on the others. Everyone, okay? I'm fine. Misty was the first to respond. Me too, Melody added. Ash, Tracy, and even Team Rocket seemed unharmed. Kay gestured toward the damaged hull. We fell from pretty high up. I have no idea if this airship will explode, so let's get out of here. Before they could move, Jesse, James, and Meowth bolted toward the exit. James turned back, sticking out his tongue. Nyad. Our Pokemon might not be as strong as yours, but when it comes to escaping, we're the best. Kai chuckled but didn't stop them. Instead, he followed Ash and the others out of the wreckage. Stepping out of the airship's broken hull, they finally saw how massive it was, lined with wind turbines and thrusters, stretching over 500 meters in diameter. Compared to such a colossal machine, they felt tiny. If it exploded, they'd be gone in an instant. Without wasting time, they ran along the ship's outer hull, pushing forward as fast as possible. As they set foot on land, everyone gasped for breath, except Sabrina, who simply levitated over the terrain. Just then, a frigid gust of wind swept past them, making them shiver. Melody's eyes widened. Why is everything frozen? What was once a lush island was now a barren wasteland of ice. The trees, cliffs, and ocean were frozen solid. In the distance, Shamotei Island was completely covered in ice. It's just like Zapdos did before, Kai muttered, exhaling a misty breath. It must be Articuno. It sensed the other two were missing, and decided to claim all 4 islands as its territory. Melody turned pale, but it's not supposed to be like this. The balance has been kept for centuries. We can talk later, Kai urged. Right now, we need to... Boom! Before he could finish, the airship groaned, sliding further down the crater. Loose debris and huge metal panels began to fall. Crash! A giant wind turbine blade smashed into the shrine, sending rubble everywhere. Amidst the chaos, a golden sphere rolled toward Ash's feet. That's the treasure of Thunder Island. Melody gasped. It looked just like the one from Fire Island, but golden instead of red. Ash reached down to grab it. Zap! A lightning bolt struck, shattering the ice beneath him. The orb rolled further away. Looking up, Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno were locked in battle, their fury unleashed on each other, tearing apart the island's terrain. No time to think! Ash lunged forward, snatching the golden orb just before it fell into the abyss. That was 2 down. Look! Misty pointed toward the wreckage. Their sailboat had fallen into a nearby lake, but was miraculously intact. Yes! Team Rocket scrambled into the boat like rats, fleeing a sinking ship. Seeing their only way off the island, Kai and the others rushed after them. Just as they jumped aboard, boom, a flaming fireball crashed into the water beside them, sending scalding steam over the deck. Misty wiped her face. Melody, get us out of here now. Stop yelling. I know. Melody adjusted the sails, and the engine roared to life. The boat lurched forward, but just as they neared the lake's exit, a thick wall of ice sealed their path. Damn it, we're trapped. Melody gritted her teeth. Kai was about to send out Haunter to blast through the ice when, boom, a bolt of lightning from Zapdos obliterated the ice, shattering the surrounding glacier and sending the lake rushing toward the sea. The current swept their boat forward like a tidal wave. Misty and Melody screamed as the boat flew off the waterfall into the open ocean. Just before crashing, a massive waterspout erupted from the sea, catching the boat midair and gently lowering them into the water. Everyone was stunned. What just happened? Kai narrowed his eyes and looked down into the sea. Beneath the thick ice, the ocean depths were hidden in shadow. Then, a deep, echoing cry resonated through the air. A voice, lonely, powerful, ethereal. Ooh! It was a song that sent chills through their bodies. Melody's breath hitched. That voice, that's Lugia. Lugia? Ash and the others rushed to the edge, scanning the frozen ocean for any sign of the legendary Pokémon, but there was nothing. Ash turned back to Melody, skeptical. Are you sure? Maybe you imagined it? Melody shook her head firmly. It has to be Lugia. Lugia is the guardian of the sea. According to the prophecy, when the world is in chaos, it will rise to restore balance. Who else could summon such a powerful waterspout?
That makes sense.
The towering waterspout carried their boat at incredible speed, covering miles in minutes. Normally, the journey back to Shamotei Island would take at least 15 minutes, but they arrived in just 3. As they approached the island's southern cliffs, the waterspout lurched forward and threw the boat onto the shore near an ancient shrine. Boom! The boat skidded across the icy ground, sending snow flying. Everyone landed hard on the frozen surface. Kai groaned, rubbing his back. Ugh. I don't even know how many times we've crashed today. Just as they were about to celebrate their survival, creak, the boat lurched backward. Something was wrong, gravity took over, and the entire boat tipped over, plummeting into the abyss. Jump! Everyone jumped off just as the boat crashed into the rocks below. Ash collapsed onto the snow, breathing heavily. That was way too close. As they caught their breath, Ash looked up and spotted an unfamiliar pink Pokémon atop the shrine. It had a large shelter on its head like a crown, its eyes filled with wisdom. What is that? Without hesitation, Ash pulled out his Pokédex. Pokédex, Slowking, the royal Pokémon, a water and psychic type evolution of Slowpoke. Highly intelligent, it ponders the mysteries of the world. Slowking? They had seen Slowpoke and Slowbro before, but this was their first encounter with a wild Slowking. Why was it standing there so calmly? Most wild Pokémon would avoid humans. Place the treasures on the altar. A talking Pokémon! Tracy pointed at Slowking, eyes wide. Did that Slowking just talk? They had met talking Pokémon before, but hearing another speak so fluently was still shocking. Melody blinked. I heard stories about a mystical Slowking living on Shamotei Island, but I've never seen it. Slowking repeated, place the treasures on the altar. Ash, still dazed, nodded. Right. He stepped forward, pulling out the fire and lightning treasures and placing them in the altar. Slowking inspected the offerings and shook its head. Only 2? That won't do. The ceremony requires all 3 treasures. While they spoke, Kai surveyed the area. The shrine stood at the northernmost point of the island, surrounded by hibiscus flowers peeking through the snow. Kai turned to Sabrina, who was staring at Slowking. You interested in it? Sabrina nodded. A rare psychic type. Kai understood. Thinking about catching it, she stayed silent, but the glint in her eyes gave her away. Before Kai could suggest waiting until the crisis was over, Slowking turned to them, feeling uneasy. Their gaze made it feel like prey. Something is wrong here. For the first time, Slowking felt an instinctual urge to run. Kai cleared his throat and looked away. Let's deal with the crisis first. He grabbed Sabrina's wrist and steered her in the other direction. Slowking watched them go, still feeling a lingering sense of danger. Kai noticed, wait a second, where's Team Rocket? He glanced around, but Jesse, James, and Meowth were nowhere to be seen. Tracy scratched his head. Did they escape again? Obviously, Kai muttered. They always run at the first chance. Just then, a massive shadow loomed over them. Looking up, their expressions darkened. The battle between Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno had escalated, inching closer to the island. Melody clenched her fists. If they come any closer, the people in town will be in danger. Before they could react, whoosh! A waterspout erupted from the frozen sea, forcing the legendary birds to retreat. As the water dispersed, a massive white figure emerged. A deep, haunting melody filled the air. Whoa! Everyone froze. Kaya exhaled softly. So you're finally here. Hovering above them, its piercing blue eyes filled with wisdom, Lugia had arrived. Lugia! Melody gasped, a mix of excitement and anxiety. She felt relieved, but worried about the prophecy. Ash murmured in disbelief, This is the guardian of the sea, Lugia. Known for its power, Lugia usually slept in ocean trenches. A single flap of its wings could stir storms, but it also calmed raging seas. The stormy sky crackled as the 3 legendary birds paused their fighting, focusing on the new arrival. Joru! Calm down! High above, Lugia let out a resonating cry. It was clear Lugia had not come to fight, but to end the battle. However, the 3 legendary birds remained unfazed, neither responding nor stopping. Tracy swallowed nervously, sensing the intense standoff. Suddenly, Zapdos attacked, flapping its wings and unleashing a massive bolt of lightning at Lugia. Moltres and Articuno followed suit, attacking with flames and ice. Lugia twisted its body, dodging the attacks. As fire, ice, and lightning collided, a massive explosion shook the skies. Even while evading, Lugia counterattacked, but it was still 1 against 3. Slowking sighed, watching the battle. The Guardian of the Sea only appears when the world is in peril, but even it cannot stop the destruction. Kai narrowed his eyes, deep in thought. We can't wait any longer. Ash, we need to split up.
Ash looks surprised. Split up? What do you mean?
Kai's eyes were sharp. You go to Ice Island and retrieve the last treasure. If the prophecy is true, Melody's flute can calm their rage. Ash hesitated, glancing back at the battle. But what about you? Aren't you coming with me? Kai smirked and reached for his belt. No, I'm staying here. If Lugia is struggling, I'll step in and help. I'll buy you as much time as I can. Melody objected. That's crazy. Normal Pokemon can't fight them. Kai chuckled. Normal Pokemon? Who said I was using normal ones? He tightened his grip on his Ultra Balls. It was time to unleash his Pokemon. He turned to Ash. Hurry. We don't have time to waste. Ash clenched his fists and nodded. Got it. I'll be back as soon as I can. He flipped his cap backward and ran toward Ice Island. As Ash disappeared, Kai tossed 3 Ultra Balls into the air. Come out, my legendary birds. Screet. It's showtime. ZZZRAC. Did I hear a bell? Q. Finally. Wish. 3 brilliant flashes of blue light erupted in the sky as Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno emerged. Misty gasped. What? Moltres, Zapdos, Articuno? Tracy's jaw dropped. Wait, are you telling me Kai had all 3 of them this whole time? Even Ash turned back in disbelief. Wait, Kai has all 3 legendary birds? Melody was the most shocked. He's just a normal person. How could he have all 3? Her hands trembled. Who is this man? Kai wasted no time. He pointed ahead and shouted, Moltres, Articuno, Zapdos, attack. Ta! Zake, Seke, Kaudu, Q. The 3 birds let out deafening cries, charging forward. Boom! The battlefield erupted into chaos as 6 legendary Pokémon clashed in the sky. Melody grabbed Kai's sleeve. Wait! Stop! If they fight harder, won't that make things worse? Kai turned to her, calm and unwavering. We have no choice. If we don't act, Lugia will lose, and the world will be doomed. We have to end this quickly, even if it means taking risks. Melody still looked uneasy, but Kai cut her off with a confident smile. Don't worry, nature always finds a way to recover. The 4 legendary Pokémon noticed the newcomers. The originals paused, eyeing them cautiously, while Lugia caught its breath. Before any interaction could happen, the newcomers attacked first. This enraged the originals. Were they intruders here to steal their territory? Fire clashed against fire. Ice met ice. Lightning crackled against lightning. In an instant, 6 legendary birds engaged in a full-scale aerial battle, their attacks illuminating the darkened sky. Kai's Moltres held its ground, but Articuno and Zapdos struggled. This wasn't a structured battle. He could overwhelm them through teamwork. His eyes locked onto Articuno, the weakest link. With Zapdos supporting with electric-type attacks, they could take it down and gain the upper hand. He released Gardevoir. Since he couldn't shout commands, he needed telepathic communication. Gardevoir placed a hand on his shoulder, locking onto the 3 legendary birds. Moltres. Stop fighting the enemy. Moltres. Target Articuno. Zapdos, support with Thunderbolt. Electric moves are super effective against flying types. Articuno, hold back the enemy Moltres and Zapdos. The 3 legendary birds changed tactics, focusing on their assigned targets. Next, Kai turned to Gardevoir. Link me to Lugia. Gardevoir's eyes glowed as she extended her telepathic link to the Guardian of the Seas. Lugia, I'm the trainer of these 3 legendary birds. I need your help. Join my Articuno in holding back Moltres and Zapdos. A deep voice echoed in Kai's mind. Tassi, so you are the chosen one. No, I'm not, Kai corrected. I'm just a Pokemon trainer caught up in this mess. The true chosen one is my friend. He's heading to Ice Island for the final treasure. I understand. Lugia paused. In a crisis like this, anyone who can help should do their part. I will fight alongside you to buy time for the chosen one's return. With the 3 new legendary birds joining the battle, Lugia's burden eased. It could focus more on offense rather than just survival. Lugia gathered a massive energy blast and fired a hydro pump at Moltres. Boom! The fiery bird barely dodged, but one wing got grazed. Scree. It screeched, struggling to stay airborne. Despite the type disadvantage, Lugia was stronger. Meanwhile, Kai's Moltres and Zapdos cornered Articuno. Flames and lightning crashed down from both sides. Articuno was trapped, forced to defend against both attacks. It fought back fiercely, but couldn't handle it. Sensing danger, Zapdos rushed in to help Articuno. Just as it moved, Kai's Articuno swooped in and blocked it. Kai smirked. The battle was shifting in his favor. If they could eliminate Articuno first, they'd gain full control. For a moment, Kai glanced at Ash. Ash was back on his makeshift snowboard, using Charizard's tail flames to propel himself toward Ice Island. But his progress was slow. The shockwaves from the battle forced him to dodge repeatedly. Then it happened. Dozens of metallic rings shot out from Lightning Island, surrounding Lugia in an instant. No! Kai's heart sank. The Collector had made his move. Kai had been so focused on the battle that he forgot about the Collector. He thought the man had died in the shipwreck, but he had survived and struck. The Collector unleashed his capture technology to subdue the Guardian of the Seas. Hadudia roared in pain, thrashing against the rings, but they tightened, draining its energy. With Lugia immobilized, the battle's balance shifted. Kai's mind raced. If Lugia was taken out, they had no chance against the legendary birds. Ignoring Lugia would only make things worse. He had one choice. Kai's eyes hardened as he issued his final command. Moltres, Zapdos, Articuno, we have to take one down now. Use the ultimate move. The trio soared straight up into the storm clouds. The original legendary birds froze in confusion. Why had the newcomers stopped fighting? They cautiously looked upward, watching the clouds thicken, casting a shadow over the ocean. The air pressure shifted, sending chilling gusts of wind. Misty hugged herself, shivering. Something felt off. She turned to Kai. Kai, what are you doing? Kai patted her shoulder. I'm preparing a combination attack of extreme power. But, he chuckled, although my legendary birds have practiced this move, it's still in the testing phase. Misty, Tracy, and Melody felt uneasy, but had to trust him. Misty quickly released Stormy to protect Melody, who had no Pokémon. Snowflakes began to fall. A blizzard was coming. The sky rumbled, thunder roaring like an angry beast. Lightning gathered within the clouds. Misty furrowed her brows. A blizzard and lightning. She had seen powerful moves before, but never anything like this. As the snowfall intensified, the original legendary birds felt their feathers dampened. Then crack! Lightning erupted from the clouds, striking directly at the battling Pokémon. It's coming, Kai murmured, eyes locked on the battlefield. The original legendary birds desperately tried to evade, but their soaked feathers made them perfect conductors for the lightning hitting dead on. Zapdos and Moltres howled in pain, convulsing under the voltage while Articuno resisted most of the damage. The thunderstorm looked apocalyptic, but the damage was spread out, preventing it from being lethal. Still, the impact sent Zapdos and Moltres plummeting toward the sea. Only Zapdos managed to recover mid-air, looking visibly weakened. Just as the lightning faded, a violent blizzard engulfed the battlefield. Articuno was barely affected, but for Zapdos and Moltres, the storm became pure agony. They were battered, breathing heavily, their feathers in disarray. Damn, almost Misty muttered in frustration. Kai shook his head, calm. It's not over yet. One last move. Misty's eyes widened. She looked up, her breath catching. A massive sphere of fire formed above the storm clouds. What is that? Melody gasped. A meteor. Kai smiled. No, that's Moltres' final move. Burn up! Because it's coming from so high, it looks like a meteor. The blazing inferno plummeted toward the battlefield. Sensing danger, the three legendary birds attempted to flee, but it was too late. Boom. Moltres smashed into Zapdos, triggering a colossal explosion. A heat wave burst outward, melting the surrounding ice and shattering the frozen ocean. The shockwave sent icy debris flying, nearly knocking Kai and the others off balance. When the chaos settled, they looked toward the battlefield. The ocean's surface was now a massive crater of steam and melted ice, with Zapdos floating unconscious in the center. Moltres hovered above, exhausted from using Burn Up. Kai had developed this strategy to counter threats like Mewtwo, never expecting to use it against the legendary birds. But now, with Zapdos down, the storm began to clear. Wait, where's Lugia? Misty suddenly asked. Kai frowned. He hadn't seen it since the lightning strike. Suddenly, Lugia emerged from the sea, electrical burns across its body, but stable. It fired a blazing orange energy beam at the wreckage of the crashed airship atop Ice Island's volcano. Boom! The remnants exploded violently, erupting into flames. Lugia had not forgotten the iron rings that had trapped it. This was its vengeful response. Seeing this, Kai nodded approvingly. With the Collector and Zapdos neutralized, the battle had turned in their favor. But before he could press the attack, he heard the deafening roar of helicopter blades. He looked up to see a helicopter swaying erratically as it approached Shamotei Island. The aircraft lost altitude rapidly, spiraling out of control until crash. The chopper slammed into a mountainside near the shrine, sending a tremor through the ground. "What the heck?" Misty gasped, watching thick smoke billow from the crash site. "Why would a helicopter fly in these conditions?" "Something urgent must have happened," Kai replied, narrowing his eyes. They had to investigate. Turning to Sabrina, he instructed, "Check it out and see if there are any survivors." "Understood," Sabrina nodded and headed toward the crash site. Misty and Tracy exchanged glances before deciding to follow. With them gone, Kai was alone with Melody. The helicopter's arrival made him uneasy. A new variable had entered the equation. He needed to end the battle quickly. Moltres finish off Articuno. Zapdos, Articuno, assist Lugia in taking down Moltres. With the battle now 4 against 2, Kai had the upper hand, but it would still take time to defeat the remaining legendary birds. Kai, looking toward the sound, Kai saw Ash speeding across the ice, Charizard towing him on a makeshift sledge from the shipwreck's debris. In just 10 minutes, he had returned from Ice Island, midair. Ash leapt off Charizard, landing next to Kai. "I made it back! I got the final treasure! Oh, wait, where's Misty and the others?" Kai glanced at him. They went to check on the crashed helicopter. Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt Sabrina's psychic presence sending him a warning signal. His expression darkened. Without hesitation, he commanded Gardevoir to recall his legendary birds. Ash watched in awe. After a moment, he muttered, "Kai, when did you capture them?" Kai didn't answer immediately. Instead, he gestured for Ash to stay silent and turned to Melody. "Melody, you too, please keep this a secret." He was fine revealing his legendary birds to Ash, Misty, and Tracy, but had no intention of exposing them to outsiders. Seeing Kai's serious expression, both Ash and Melody nodded. "Got it. We won't tell anyone." Kai recalled Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno. It was frustrating to withdraw at the brink of victory, but with Ash back and the final treasure secured, they could end the battle properly. At that moment, footsteps echoed from behind. Kai and Ash turned to see Sabrina, Misty, and Tracy returning. But they weren't alone. Behind them were several unexpected figures. Delia Ketchum, Professor Oak, Professor Ivy, 2 pilots, and a TV crew recording. Ash's jaw dropped. Mom, Professor Oak, Professor Ivy, what are you doing here?" Professor Oak explained, "Strange weather patterns have been appearing all over Kanto. We traced the cause to here, so Professor Ivy and I flew out to investigate." Ash scratched his head in confusion. "Mom, why did you come? And wait, weren't you in that helicopter crash? Are you okay?" Adelia smiled warmly. "I'm fine. When Professor Oak mentioned you might be here, I wanted to check on you." Ash rubbed his head awkwardly. He loved his mom, but sometimes she worried too much. Professor Oak sighed, looking toward the wrecked helicopter. It was strange. Everything was fine until we reached Shamotei Island. Then we were hit by a sudden blizzard, wrecking our instruments. Ash and the others listened in shock. Misty and Tracy turned to Kai, their expression saying, "This is your fault, isn't it?" Kai refused to admit anything. With a straight face, he casually remarked, must have been the legendary birds and Lugia." "What?" Professor Oak, Delia, and Professor Ivy whipped their heads around, following Kai's gaze to the colossal battle in the sky. Their jaws dropped, and the TV crew went wild, filming everything.
Professor Oak adjusted his glasses, eyes widening. Good heavens. The legendary birds and Lugia. So they were behind the weather anomalies.
Just as Ash was about to ask more questions, Kai interrupted. "Enough small talk." He gestured toward the shrine. "Put the final treasure in place. The sooner we finish this, the sooner we can stop the chaos." Realizing his mistake, Ash smacked his forehead. "Oh, right. I almost forgot." He rushed toward the shrine, pulling out the final treasure. Ash sprinted forward, placing a glowing orb filled with flickering sparks into the groove of the stone tablet. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the 3 orbs sat side by side, but after several seconds, there was no sign of anything unusual happening. "Strange, no reaction," Ash said, turning to Melody. "Could they just be decoration?" Melody remained calm. "Just wait a moment." Before anyone could question her, the 3 orbs erupted in brilliant light, fusing into a soft green glow that enveloped the altar. A strong gust of wind scattered the nearby snow, and flowers bloomed, filling the air with fragrance. In an instant, a green glowing liquid flowed from beneath the stone tablet, filling the groove and spilling onto the stone columns. Strange symbols appeared beneath the altar. The group stepped back, unsure if it was toxic. Suddenly, Melody stepped forward with her unique flute. She placed it to her lips, closed her eyes, and began to play the first note. The melodious music resonated, relaxing Kai's tense nerves and drawing the battling Pokemon's attention. Even Zapdos, unconscious, slowly opened its eyes and began to recover. The music continued, and the green liquid sprayed from the shrine like a fountain, flowing into the sea and melting ice and snow as it spread. As the flute's melody calmed the three legendary birds, they circled above before, almost in unison, returning to their islands. Exhausted, they wouldn't have fought much longer, even without the flute. In the sky, Lugia seized the moment, unleashing a massive water tornado that cleared the storm clouds, revealing the long-forgotten sun. Though anticlimactic, the conflict had finally ended. Kai quickly pulled out his phone to capture the moment. Lugia descended onto the altar, expressing gratitude telepathically to the Chosen Ones and their followers. Thank you for protecting this world. The Chosen Ones were Kai and Ash, who played key roles in the battle. Melody lowered her flute, relieved. We should thank you, Sea God, for your protection of Shamotei Island and the balance of the legendary birds. The stunned television crew finally turned to the humans nearby, recognizing Kai as the new champion from Kanto's Indigo League. How did he end up here? They quickly aimed their cameras at him, eager to capture the story of the century. However, Professor Oak stepped forward, blocking their view. Apologies, everyone. What happened here shouldn't be public. The staff was puzzled. Why not? Professor Oak smiled. While this situation ties to weather anomalies, it also involves legendary Pokémon. To avoid panic, it's best not to broadcast this. Professor Ivy added, let's leave it be. As part of the Orange Islands, I hope the legendary birds remain undisturbed. The staff exchanged uncertain looks. As news reporters, having a story but not being able to report it was frustrating. Still, they respected the professor's wishes. Just then, Lugia expressed its thanks once more before flying back into the sky. Until we meet again, we are bound by fate. With that, it dove into the sea, leaving only its legend behind. Looking at the calm ocean, Kai thought about catching Lugia, but felt it wasn't the right time. Well, I'm sure I'll meet another Lugia eventually. By the way, Kai, Misty said, knowing he hadn't met Professor Ivy. You don't know Professor Ivy, do you? Let me introduce you. Professor Ivy, a famous Pokémon researcher, appeared to be in her mid to late 20s, though her youthful appearance made it hard to tell. Despite her laid-back demeanor, she exuded mature charm. Brock had fallen for her at first sight. Kai extended his hand toward Professor Ivy. So you're Professor Ivy. I've heard a lot about you. Misty mentioned you before, but I never expected to meet you here. Professor Ivy smiled and shook his hand warmly. No need to be so formal, Mr. Kai. I've been following your matches since the Indigo League. Your precision and efficiency in battle are impressive. Oh, not at all, Kai chuckled modestly. It was mostly my opponents making me look good. After exchanging pleasantries, Melody invited them back to Shamotei Island's main town. The festival crowds had thinned, possibly due to the battle's aftermath or the festival concluding. Despite the Lugia incident being resolved, Professors Oak and Ivy, along with Delia Ketchum, decided to stay longer to co-author a research paper on the effects of Pokémon battles on the environment. The news crew had to wait for a passing ship to return to Kanto, while the helicopter pilots remained on the island until their company sent a team to investigate the crash. By the time they arrived at the banquet hall, the sky was tinted with sunset hues. Melody had prepared food, then went off to speak with her sister and the town elder. Kai noticed their glances shifting between him and Ash, clearly recounting everything that had happened. Thankfully, Melody respected Kai's request and left out the part about the legendary birds. Kai's stomach growled, pulling him back to reality. He turned toward the long dining table, filled with mouth-watering dishes. Nearly 10 hours had passed without a proper meal or rest, and everyone felt their hunger intensify. Without hesitation, they dug in ravenously, disregarding dining etiquette. Only Sabrina remained composed, eating at a measured pace. As the initial hunger subsided, Ash finally had a chance to talk with his mother. Delia listened affectionately as Ash excitedly recounted his adventures, occasionally offering motherly advice. Meanwhile, Professors Oak and Ivy discussed their paper. Misty suddenly spoke up. Actually, Kai mentioned something earlier that might help your research. She explained Kai's butterfly effect analogy.
Oh, Professor Ivy's interest piqued. The butterfly effect? I've never heard of this theory before. You have quite an insightful perspective.
Professor Oak chuckled. Ah, I nearly forgot. Kai isn't just a trainer. He also assists Professor Cerise. Professor Cerise? Ivy's eyes widened. So, you're working under him? That makes you somewhat of a scholar yourself. Kai waved his hands in denial. Not at all. I just ran errands for Professor Cerise. I wouldn't call myself a scholar. Just then, the Elder of Shamotei Island approached, accompanied by Melody and Carol. The Elder expressed gratitude to Kai, Ash, and the others for protecting the island, warmly welcoming the professors. Chosen ones, we are truly grateful. If not for you, the world might have met its end. Kai nodded politely, going along with the Elder's beliefs. As he looked at Melody's younger sister, Carol, he felt he had forgotten something important. Her questioning gaze met his, and she asked, Mr. Kai, did Miss Mirren not return with you? Oh no! Kai's face twisted in realization. We forgot about her on Fire Island. My bad. He rubbed the back of his head, awkwardly. But her boat was stranded, so she shouldn't have been able to leave. I see. Carol sighed, but smiled gently. It's all right. I'll go bring her back later. By the way, Kai recalled the collector's fate is still unknown. Could you check on that? I understand. Leave it to us. After Melody left, the town mayor arranged musicians to perform for them. Melody stepped onto the stage, playing a cheerful melody on her flute. Dressed in her festival attire, she looked elegant and beautiful. After everything, she now considered Kai and his companions friends. The tune lifted everyone's spirits. Even Professor Ivy set aside her research discussions to enjoy the moment, raising her glass in a toast. Her alcohol tolerance was impressive. After a few cups, her expression remained unchanged. Noticing Kai sipping drinks with Sabrina, she joined them casually, engaging in light-hearted conversation. Kai savored the drink, a locally brewed fruit wine from Shamotei Island. It was mild, sweet, and refreshing. Sabrina took a few small sips, and after barely half a glass, a soft flush spread across her cheeks. It was clear she rarely drank, and the unfamiliar sensation showed on her face.
You two, why are you drinking so slowly? Looks like neither of you has a high tolerance. Professor Ivy chuckled. You need to get used to this. If you get drunk so easily, you'll miss out on a lot of fun. Come on, let's toast. Without waiting for a response, she clinked her glass against Kai's. Kai sighed and downed his drink, but before he could set his glass down, Professor Ivy refilled it. Professor Ivy, I really don't have a great tolerance, he smiled wryly. Drinking this fast is a bit much. But she insisted, clinking glasses again. Didn't I say you need to build up your tolerance? Another toast. Sighing again, Kai knew she was just looking for a drinking partner. He took another sip, covering his glass with his hand after setting it down. Professor Ivy glanced at him sideways, but didn't press the issue further. Meanwhile, Ash watched everyone laughing and chatting, feeling envious. When he heard the fruit wine had low alcohol content, he secretly wanted to try a sip. Just as he reached for a cup, his mother Delia caught him and sternly forbade it, forcing him to put the glass down in frustration. A kid should listen to his mother. Misty teased, then snuck a few sips herself. Instantly, her face turned as red as an apple. Just as she tried to recover, Melody walked by and caught her, sparking a debate about the appropriate drinking age. Amidst the lively atmosphere, Kai enjoyed the moment, observing the table. The only one out of place was Tracy, sitting upright like a diligent student, notebook in hand, earnestly asking Professor Oak questions. From Professor Oak's expression, Kai could tell he was curious about the fruit wine himself. But with Tracy watching him so seriously, he had to maintain his dignified image. So this is the trouble of being famous, Kai thought, silently mourning for Professor Oak. As the evening went on, the sky filled with twinkling stars. After everyone had eaten and drunk their fill, drowsiness crept in. Fortunately, Melody had arranged rooms for them. Kai left first, returning to his assigned room. After a cool shower to wash away the day's fatigue, he changed into his sleepwear. Just as he was about to lie down, a knock came at the door. Kai, are you still awake? It was Misty. Not yet. What's up? He opened the door to find her standing there. With a hopeful expression, she asked, Ash and I are planning to leave tomorrow at noon for our next destination. Do you want to come with us? Kai shook his head. No, our paths are different. We should continue on our own, but I'm sure we'll meet again soon.
Alright, Misty sighed, disappointment showing on her face as she turned to leave. Just then, Kai noticed Sabrina leaning against the wall, having listened to their conversation. Watching Misty disappear, Sabrina spoke softly. That little girl really likes you, doesn't she? Kai felt a rush of alarm. Well, maybe, but I see her as a little sister. I don't have any other feelings for her. Is that so? Sabrina glanced at him, then turned to unlock her door. As she was about to leave, Kai blurted out, Do you want to come in for a bit? Sabrina turned back, studying him. It was late, and she wondered why he was inviting her in. But given their relationship, she saw no reason to refuse. All right. As she stepped inside, Kai closed the door behind her. Her damp hair suggested she had just showered, but a faint scent of alcohol lingered. In the moonlight, she looked stunning. Kai remained silent, gazing at her. Sabrina chuckled. What are you staring at? I was just thinking how beautiful the moonlight is tonight. Sabrina turned to the window, noticing the moon was hidden behind clouds. There was no moonlight at all. Clearly, Kai had used that as an excuse. Yet, sensing the atmosphere was different, she felt something was about to happen. For a moment, they both fell silent. Kai continued to stare at her, his throat suddenly dry. Maybe it was the alcohol or something else, but he stopped thinking altogether. He leaned in closer, and Sabrina didn't move away. That silent acceptance gave Kai the courage he needed. He stepped forward, closing the distance between them until his breath brushed against her skin. He lowered his head and pressed his lips gently against hers. Kai slept soundly until the sun was high in the sky. Rubbing his temples, he realized he had underestimated the after effects of the fruit wine. Even with its low alcohol content, he felt groggy and lightheaded. Half awake, he reached out beside him but found the bed empty. Where is she? Yawning, he sat up and glanced around, but Sabrina was nowhere to be seen. Thinking back on last night, he realized he had acted on impulse. After freshening up, he tidied the bed sheets, planning to discreetly dispose of them later. Once everything was in order, he knocked on Sabrina's door. No response. Frowning, he headed toward the banquet hall. Inside, Ash, Misty, Tracy, and Delia were having lunch. As soon as they spotted him, they greeted him. Kai, you slept too long. We've been up for ages. Ash grinned, still chewing. Once we finish lunch, we're heading off to our next gym challenge. Misty said if you didn't wake up soon, we'd storm your room. Misty's face turned scarlet. Don't make things up, she huffed, glaring at Ash. That was your idea. Kai noticed Ash's bag was already packed. What can I say? I've been exhausted these past few days. Besides, I'd advise against barging into my room unannounced. Ash blinked in confusion. Why's that? Kai grinned teasingly. Well, I've developed a liking for sleeping in the nude. If you walked in at the wrong time, I'd be worried about your self-esteem. Ash and Tracy were left speechless. Chuckling at their reactions, Kai moved closer to the table but noticed a few familiar faces missing. By the way, where are Professor Oak and Professor Ivy? Misty looked at him curiously, sensing something different about Kai, more mature somehow. Shaking off the thought, she replied, They took diving equipment and went with Melody to study the ocean currents. I see, Kai mused. That's dedication. Professors like them do field work too. Tracy leaned in slightly. Oh, right. This morning, Melody said when she went to pick up Marin, she didn't find the collector, just wreckage everywhere. It looks like he survived and escaped. Kai raised an eyebrow in surprise. Though unexpected, it wasn't unbelievable. After this ordeal, would the collector abandon his obsession or continue hunting for Lugia? Either way, it was no longer Kai's concern. But Sabrina was still nowhere to be seen. Just then, he heard footsteps and turned to see Sabrina and Marin walking in. Sabrina's hair was still damp while Marin stretched and yawned, clearly just waking up before Kai could say anything. Marin spotted him and narrowed her eyes. You guys really did me dirty, she huffed, crossing her arms. I ferried you to Fire Island, and what do I get? Abandoned without a word. Marin wasn't actually upset. Her teasing was just a way to break the tension. However, her stuffy nose made it clear she had caught a cold. Kai felt guilty. Sorry about that. We were captured by the collector and couldn't contact you. Misty and Tracy also offered apologies. Seeing their sincerity, Marin waved a hand dismissively. Oh, don't worry. It's just a little cold. I took some medicine and I'll be fine after some rest. Once Marin sat down, Kai focused on Sabrina. She looked perfectly normal. Her expression unreadable. Hesitating, he cleared his throat. Sabrina, are you all right? Sabrina glanced at him, her gaze softening. With a small shake of her head, she replied, "I'm fine. The bed was just a bit too hard, and I sweated a lot last night, so I took a shower." To the others, it seemed like an ordinary exchange, but to Kai, Sabrina's words held a deeper meaning. She wasn't upset, and relief flooded through him. Now wasn't the time for details, not in front of everyone. They needed a private moment later. However, one thing lingered in Kai's mind. Last night, caught up in the moment, he hadn't thought about precautions. Now that the alcohol had worn off, that realization made him a bit nervous. After lunch, Ash and his friends reluctantly boarded Marin's newly repaired speedboat to leave Shamotei Island. Delia chose to stay behind, feeling lonely with her son, constantly traveling. Kai couldn't help but speculate about their relationship, but he had his own matters to deal with. After packing, Kai and Sabrina left their bags in their room and headed toward the shrine, where a rare Pokémon awaited Sabrina. As they walked through the forest, Kai noticed frost damage from Zapdos's attacks, but life still thrived around them. In the quiet surroundings, Kai considered saying something but hesitated, observing Sabrina's calm demeanor. Shouldn't she be asking about last night? But she seemed unaffected, so he kept his thoughts to himself. If she wanted to talk, she would. Upon reaching the shrine, they were greeted by Slowking, who seemed surprised to see them. The world-ending crisis has been averted. You have no reason to return, it said. You're wrong about that, Kai smirked, gesturing to Sabrina. This was her battle. Slowking tilted its head in confusion, but when Sabrina pulled out a Pokeball, it sighed. I don't wish to fight. Can't you just leave? But Sabrina wasn't backing down. With an indifferent expression, she released Kadabra. Slowking opened its mouth to protest, but Sabrina commanded Kadabra to attack immediately. Kadabra unleashed a powerful psychic blast towards Slowking. Slowking countered with its own psychic energy, creating a stalemate. Kai watched with interest, releasing a few of his Pokémon to observe. Though both were psychic types, Slowking had a water-typing advantage, while Kadabra had sharper tactics. As the battle raged on, Kai turned to Gardevoir. Looks like Sabrina's Kadabra has grown stronger too. Remember when we challenged the Saffron Gym? The Stray Water Gun attack pulled Kai's attention back to the fight. Slowking was strong but seemed unaccustomed to battling, breathing heavily as it got distracted by Kai's Pokémon. Sabrina glanced at Kai, feeling the pressure of not winning in front of someone she liked. Telepathically, she instructed Kadabra to stop and walked up to Slowking. Confused, Slowking blinked, but Sabrina raised her hand, unleashing a surge of psychic energy that enveloped Slowking. Even Kai was stunned. Was she getting impatient, or did she believe capturing it personally would make it more obedient? Slowking staggered back, hit by multiple psychic blasts, realizing it could no longer continue and accepting defeat. Seeing this, Sabrina quickly tossed a Pokeball. As they returned to Shamotei Island, they ran into Professors Oak and Ivy approaching the banquet hall. With the festival over, the island felt quieter. Inside, Professor Ivy pulled out a laptop and turned the screen toward Kai. Take a look at this preliminary report from our investigation. It's still a draft, but the core findings won't change. Kai raised an eyebrow. Me? This is your research. I'm not involved. It's fine, Professor Oak said. We incorporated your butterfly effect theory into our findings. You contributed to this paper. Kai felt awkward. The butterfly effect wasn't his idea. He had just mentioned it casually, but seeing it in an official paper embarrassed him. He leaned in and started scrolling through the document, realizing it was highly technical with equations that went over his head. Fortunately, they weren't expecting a critique, just his participation. Eventually, he found the section referencing his theory and noticed his name alongside Oak and Ivy. You included my name? Kai was taken aback. I don't think that's necessary. Professor Ivy waved a hand. You were involved in the events we studied. Your perspective is valuable. Kai sighed, knowing his name would gain recognition, even though he had no intention of becoming a researcher. With that settled, it was time to leave. Kai and Sabrina gathered their belongings and stepped outside, calling on Charizard to set off for the next gym island. The professors and Delia accompanied them to the entrance to say goodbye. Carol and Melody also came to bid farewell. Standing on the steps, Melody gazed at Kai, her expression complicated. Over the past few days, she had come to admire him, especially after he protected her during the crisis. But watching him now, focused on his journey, she realized this might be their last meeting. Taking a deep breath, she raised her flute to her lips. A soft, lingering melody floated into the air. A bittersweet farewell. Kai, unaware of the deeper meaning behind the song, noted that Melody seemed unusually quiet. Just as he helped Sabrina onto Charizard, Melody suddenly called out to him, "Kai, wait." This was the first time she addressed him by name. Turning back, he saw her stepping forward. Before he could ask what was wrong, she embraced him tightly, leaving him speechless. Then, standing on her tiptoes, she pressed a soft kiss against his cheek, tears shimmering in her eyes. Don't overthink it, this is just a farewell kiss. Melody, from a distance, Carol watched, hesitation flickering in her eyes. As someone who had once been the festival maiden, she knew there was no such thing as a farewell kiss tradition. This was all Melody's decision. It was clear to Carol that her younger sister had fallen for Kai, but she also knew something Melody didn't. After cleaning up Kai and Sabrina's room, she found evidence in the trash that revealed what had happened between them. Her naive sister didn't realize Kai was already with someone else. Silly girl, Carol sighed internally. Kai's older and has a girlfriend. It's best not to hold on to impossible hopes. Kai, oblivious to all this, simply embraced Melody, saying, "Take care of yourself. If fate allows, we'll meet again." He gently let go and climbed onto Charizard's back. With a nudge, Charizard flapped its wings, lifting off into the sky. The gust from its ascent made it hard for everyone to keep their eyes open and sent Melody's hair flying. As the dragon soared higher, tears rolled down her cheeks. Only Carol noticed her sister's silent heartbreak. To Kai, Shamotei Island was just another stop on his journey. With ambitions lying beyond this small island, they headed toward Truvita Island, known for its treacherous undercurrents. A century ago, the island's residents had driven massive stone pillars into the ocean to prevent shipwrecks, creating swirling eddies that altered the water flow. By the time Kai and Sabrina arrived at Truvita Island, the setting sun painted the landscape in warm hues. After landing outside town, Kai quickly followed directions to Truvita Gym, a 4-story building resembling a Pokémon center. As he entered, a red-haired man in a black shirt and white vest appeared, accompanied by uniformed subordinates. This man was undoubtedly the gym leader. Before Kai could introduce himself, the man walked right past him to Sabrina. "My lovely lady, might I have the honor of knowing your name?" he asked, bowing theatrically. Kai was speechless. "First Danny, now this guy?" Seeing Sabrina frown, Kai stepped in front of her. "Judging by your outfit, you must be a waiter. I'm here to challenge the gym leader. Is he around? And please don't bother my partner. If she gets irritated, things could get very unpleasant." "Aha, waiter." Rudy, the gym leader, finally took notice of Kai. "Ah, my apologies. I was dazzled by this lady's beauty," he admitted, before smirking. "I am Rudy, the gym leader of Truvita Island, and the Southern Star of the Orange Crew." He punctuated his introduction with a dance step. Kai waved dismissively. "Yeah, sorry, I'm from Kanto. I don't keep up with minor titles. Can we get started?" Rudy felt his pride shatter. In the Orange League, gym leaders were celebrities, and Kai was brushing it off. Rudy crossed his arms, chuckling coldly. "I don't battle just anyone. Prove you're worthy." "Oh, proof?" Kai reached into his bag and revealed 2 Orange League badges. "I've already defeated 2 gym leaders. Does that count?" Rudy scoffed, dismissing the badges. Winning against them means nothing. Not all gym leaders are equal. Kai raised an eyebrow. "Oh? That's great to hear. I was worried this gym would be as ridiculous as the last 2. It's been a while since I had a real battle." Sabrina sensed the tension. Normally she would handle such situations herself, but Kai had stepped in for her. He was jealous, and after their night together, she felt comforted by the realization that Kai now saw her as his. Rudy led them to a river behind the gym where a speedboat was moored. "The proof I require is simple. Board this boat and follow the river. Use your Pokémon to knock down all the floating targets. If you succeed, you can battle me." Rudy smirked, adding, "Since it's getting dark, I normally wouldn't conduct the test at this hour. But since you're eager, I'm sure nighttime won't be a problem for you, right?" Kai shrugged. "That's fine. Day or night, it makes no difference." Rudy chuckled. "Confident, aren't you? Let's see if that confidence is justified." They boarded the speedboat, with Rudy driving and supervising the test. After confirming everything was ready, Rudy started the engine, and they sped along the river. The scenery blurred past, and after a minute, Rudy asked if Kai was ready. Kai nodded and released his Jolteon, which nuzzled his leg before focusing on the challenge. "Oh, The Jolteon? Rudy raised an eyebrow. Most challengers use water types to avoid the boat's rocking. Don't worry, Kai replied flatly. My Jolteon can handle this. Just then, a target dropped from a tree branch. Jolteon unleashed a lightning bolt, shattering it. Nice work, Kai instructed, but conserve energy next time. Jolteon let out an affirmative cry and continued to obliterate targets with precision. The sound of targets shattering echoed over the river, and Rudy watched in astonishment. As twilight set in, Rudy expected challengers to struggle in the poor lighting, but Jolteon performed flawlessly, hitting every target. After a full lap, the boat returned to the starting point. Rudy let out a reluctant sigh. You pass, he admitted, though his tone mixed admiration with superiority. But you made a mistake. Kai tilted his head. Oh? You revealed your ace Pokémon too early, Rudy declared. That Jolteon is clearly your strongest fighter. Now that I know that, what will you do in tomorrow's battle? Kai stared blankly. Huh? My ace? You mean Jolteon? Is he an idiot? He almost laughed. This test Rudy had hyped up was far easier than Kai had anticipated. To Rudy, it might seem formidable, but to someone who had fought top-tier trainers, this was child's play. Kai figured Rudy genuinely believed most challengers were at the same level as local trainers. Misinterpreting Kai's silence, Rudy smirked smugly. The battle will be a 3-on-3 match, with each round being a 1-on-1 fight, Rudy said. If you win 2 out of 3, you'll earn my badge. Then, turning to Sabrina with a charming smile, he added, and since it's late, would you care to join me for dinner, my beautiful lady? Sabrina ignored him, tilting her head at Kai as if asking for permission to deal with Rudy. Should I drown him? She seemed to ask. Nah, he isn't worth it. Kai chuckled, shaking his head and walking off. Sabrina followed him, leaving Rudy standing there, hands still extended. After leaving the gym, Kai and Sabrina chose a nice restaurant for dinner before looking for a place to stay. Instead of the Pokémon Center, which offered free lodging but lacked privacy, Kai booked 2 large rooms at a nearby hotel. After last night, he wanted to push things further with Sabrina. As night fell, Truvita Island quieted down. Inside her room, Sabrina was about to get into bed when knock, knock, knock. She opened the door to find Kai grinning like a fool. What is it? She asked. Just couldn't sleep, so I figured I'd drop by, he replied. Sabrina almost laughed. His intentions were obvious. Instead of stepping aside, she stood in the doorway, curious if he would back off. Instead, Kai squeezed past her and made himself comfortable on the couch. Sighing, she closed the door behind him. A peculiar silence settled as she climbed into bed. Kai watched her, trying to start a conversation. So, who do you think will win tomorrow? Me or Rudy? Sabrina feigned sleep, her breathing steady. Kai smirked, then quietly kicked off his shoes and slipped onto the bed beside her. The mattress creaked under their weight, and the room fell silent again. After waiting, he coughed and reached under the covers. The moment his fingers brushed her sleepwear, Sabrina's eyes opened. At least turn off the lights, she murmured. The next day at Truvita Gym, Rudy sat impatiently at a table, waiting for Kai. He had dressed sharply, hoping to impress Sabrina, but hours passed without a sign of him. Just as he was about to give up, his little sister, Mari, tugged at his sleeve, asking if they could eat lunch. Just then, Kai strolled in, yawning, with Sabrina casually following. Rudy's expression soured. There was something different about Sabrina. She looked radiant, as if she had spent the night in someone's arms. Well, Kai smirked. Did you know I was coming and waited just to greet me? Rudy's eye twitched. Took you long enough. I thought you chickened out. Kai blinked in mock surprise. Wait, you were actually waiting for me? Sorry, I just slept in. Rudy clenched his jaw, knowing exactly why Kai had slept in. Just then, Mari gasped, looking up at Sabrina. Big brother, she's so pretty. Sabrina barely reacted, but Kai smiled at Mari, crouching to her level. You're pretty cute yourself. Do you live here in the gym? Mari nodded excitedly, and as Kai chatted with her, Rudy's fists clenched. Slept in, huh? I hate this guy so much. With Kai finally there, Rudy led him to the battlefield. As they walked, Kai noticed rhythmic music coming from an adjacent room. He peeked in to see Pokémon dancing in sync. What are they doing? He asked. Rudy's sister, Mahari, beamed. They're dancing. Dancing? Kai blinked, surprised. Rudy reluctantly elaborated. This is a training method I developed. It may not seem related to battling, but it helps improve their abilities. Kai scrutinized the Pokemon's movements, but didn't see any remarkable improvement. It seemed odd to have certain Pokemon like Stormy and Golem practicing dance routines, but he kept his thoughts to himself. After skipping lunch, they settled for bread as a quick snack before heading to the battlefield. A flat plateau emerging from the ocean. Kai felt excitement stir within him as he looked at the arena. Rudy smirked. How do you plan to get there? I can arrange for my hot air balloon to take you across. Kai retrieved a Pokeball and released Charizard. Rudy faltered, clearly hoping to see Kai struggle. Just as Sabrina stepped forward, Rudy blocked her path. Only competitors are allowed on the battlefield. Sabrina narrowed her eyes, silently asking if she should deal with him. Kai smiled and shook his head. She let out a sigh, but complied, stepping back to board the hot air balloon with Mari. Kai and Charizard took to the sky, reaching the battlefield long before Rudy released his Pidgeot to follow. Once on the battlefield, Kai felt the harsh wind and the salty sting of seawater. Rudy landed dramatically and declared, if you defeat me, you'll earn the Spike Shell badge. Which Pokemon will you use first? In Truvita Gym, challengers revealed their Pokemon first. Without hesitation, Kai called out, Charizard, you're up first! Roar! The flame-tailed dragon landed with a thunderous impact. Rudy mused, a fire type, huh? I'll match you with this. He threw out a Ninetales, ready to battle.